big green egg. Right now, a nippy 51 degrees. Today will be a little warmer than yesterday. Yesterday was absolutely perfect. A little warmer today, 81. And then it gets a little warmer as the week progresses. We're talking about 83 for your, Thursday 83, Friday 83, 85 Saturday, 87 Sunday. But then next week looks like the upper 60s to the low 70s. And finally some good fall weather. But take advantage of dryness because we have the sun in the forecast for the foreseeable future. The overnight low tonight, going into the wee hours of Thursday morning, will be 53 degrees. Coming up on the program today, we will talk some Tennessee Volunteers football after their loss to Arkansas. They got Florida coming up. They got Alabama in 2 weeks. Dave Hooker will join us from the Hook Sports podcast, and his years and years of covering the Tennessee Vols. He's been a terrific guest for us talking Tennessee, and we'll do that again at 8:05. At 8:25, Jerry Palm from CBS Sports, CBSSports.com, on the college football scene nationally. At 9:05, we'll talk Grizzlies with DeMichael Cole from the Commercial Appeal. Then at 9:25, Chris Boyson's going to join us. He is with the great folks over at St. Jude. He's the Senior Vice President of ALSAC. And they are trying to get people in their seats and buy their tickets and raise money for an unbelievable cause, as you guys all are well aware of, and that's St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, because next week, 6 days from now, a week from yesterday, it's the big doubleheader that'll be happening at FedEx Forum, the Hoops for St. Jude Tip-Off Classic with Memphis and North Carolina, and then Memphis women against South Carolina, 2 exhibition games. And again, all the money, all the proceeds going to St. Jude. So we'll talk to Chris about that because, the sales are not going as well as we had hoped. Certainly hoped for a sellout, and they're not even close. So we'll talk to Chris about that. And Parth Upadhyay is going to join us as well. Parth is going to start a new segment with us, a weekly segment, talking Memphis Tigers basketball. He'll be on with Chris and then stay on for a segment at 9:45, but starting next week, it'll be at 9:25 with Parth Upadhyay from the Daily Memphian. You can hit us up on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener lines by calling in or texting in at 901-360-8255. We got plenty of news from the NCAA as far as the transfer portal window is concerned. The latest as far as Memphis and South Florida and Hurricane Milton, which is churning in the Gulf and heading right towards the west coast of Florida. We have Major League Baseball playoff talk. A couple of games yesterday, 4 games on the docket today. All the series going on in the divisional series round. We got NFL talk as well. And the NBA annual Executives Anonymous poll is out. We'll go over some of that, some of the questions that they asked these executives and the answers to those questions. That's your lineup for today. Enjoy, kick back, relax, and thank you for tuning in. How are you?
I am... I'm all right today.
Yeah?
I'm all right.
Have you been watching any of the Weather Channel's coverage or any coverage on the networks about the storm?
I have not been watching any of the coverage. I was reading something this morning, though, that included the line that this is the largest hurricane threat faced by Tampa in over a century.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, that makes sense to play a football game a couple days later there. Seems logical.
It is the power of the storm. I don't know if it's unprecedented, but it's certainly one of the most powerful on record. It's compact. It's not as wide a storm as they normally are. That's what they said when I was watching the coverage last night. But they said it is so compacted that it's more powerful. And whether it's a direct hit on Tampa or not, it's going to affect that area. And yes, unless you were in a cave yesterday or maybe on Venus, they announced that the Memphis-South Florida game moved from Friday night to Saturday afternoon. Not a quick turnaround. Not a lot of hours in between those dates. First of all, if you're going to go Saturday, I don't know why you didn't go Saturday night to give you even more time. But I just think the chances are low that this game will take place. Now, Alex Golish, the head coach of the South Florida Bulls, and his team have moved to Orlando to continue to practice and prepare. So they've relocated to Orlando from Tampa. And Golish said yesterday, meeting the media, that they will reassess the situation for Saturday's game with Memphis and the AAC Thursday. So this storm, which it's slowed down a little bit. It's now going to hit tonight, but into tomorrow, into the wee hours of Thursday morning. So you're talking about this thing won't even be out of the area until sometime later on Thursday. And then you have to reassess and then decide what you're going to do and make changes if you have to. They've already had to make changes, Memphis, and even though I don't even know what they're doing now for travel. Like, I'm sent the itinerary. We don't know what they've done. We just know that they're not going today or tomorrow, rather. If they go and there's a game Saturday, they leave on Friday. But there's no itinerary set up because they know that it's subject to change on Thursday. But then you got to turn around, the hotel. You got everything that has to be done just to get there. Now, travel around the city, flooding going on. You think fans are going to be there? You think people are going to show up for a football game when their houses and places, their abodes, where they live is in jeopardy and their lives are in jeopardy and people are fleeing out of the area anyway? It is strange brew, as they say. I know they want to play this game because of the schedule ahead. They don't want a cancellation. I just thought they would all come together and figure out a neutral site to play this game and make it pretty simple. Again, the pecking order of importance, football's way down. But I understand Ryan Silverfield, Alex Golish, the players, the administration. You know, you want to play the game if you can. But this storm is scary. The devastation that may come to that area is pretty high. And so, again, football is way down the totem pole.
Yeah, I mean, that obviously, yeah. I mean, that, and again, that's why the idea of trying so hard to play the game in Tampa just makes just no sense. I don't understand why this would be the decision at this point. To me, I'm still stunned that this is the way they're trying to go. Again, this is the largest hurricane threat faced by Tampa in more than a century. Oh, no, by the way, they just got hit by a hurricane a couple weeks ago.
Right. Look, we had Mike Seidel on the show yesterday.
But
he explained it to everybody.
Saturday, I think people will be ready to get out and go to a football game. They'll be tired of being cooped up in their homes. They're just going to be like, "Oh, got to get out." Man, it's just been rough to haven't been able to do anything. Got to go out and watch a football game. I don't know.
You got to forget what happened 2 days prior. You got to forget about it. You got to put it out of your mind. You need some escapism, and that's football. No, sometimes those things matter in life, right? To get away, to escape from your problems. Not in this case. Not that quick a turnaround. Again, they will be analyzing the damage for days. They're not going to be Thursday, when this thing finally rolls through, sometime Thursday, do you think, give me an hour, I'll have everything analyzed. How much damage? It's going to take days. We'll see. So we'll see what happens. There was some college football last night. Liberty, I don't care if they're undefeated. Liberty is a shell of what they were. Didn't they win in overtime earlier this year over New Mexico State? Like escaped that one against New Mexico State, if I'm not mistaken.
Maybe, I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. Elijah, look up that score if you would. The Liberty New Mexico State game from earlier this year, and that's New Mexico State without Diego. Was Pavia in New Mexico State? He was, right?
Yes. And
came to Vanderbilt. So that was without Pavia. But anyway, Liberty won that game. And last night, Mike McIntyre and Florida International storm back. They're down a couple of touchdowns. They tie the game. They go to overtime. Liberty scores a touchdown. Florida International fumbles the football. And Liberty wins 31-24. They improve to 5-0. Florida International 2 and 4.
Yeah, Liberty won on September 7th at New Mexico State 30-24.
30-24 regulation? Wasn't it an
Regulation
overtime
game.
Okay. But I think they were down and they came back and won. All right, give them credit. But they're not. This is not Liberty. They're not going down that road again. But they're still undefeated. And they're one of 12 that remain undefeated in college football.
It's always good to see Liberty win.
Why?
Well, I like Liberty.
Give me liberty or give me death?
Liberty should win out all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pro Liberty, maybe not Liberty University. Yesterday, news came down from the NCAA that the transfer portal window for football and hoops has been shortened from 45 to 30 days, but they did not eliminate the spring portal, which, much to the chagrin of coaches around the country. So there'll be 20 days of the portal window that's open in the fall. Actually, I guess, I don't know if it's technically winter, December 9th through the 28th. Sometime in that period it turns into winter. And then 10 days in the spring, April 16th through April 25th. So again, to have that spring portal window open, it's not great in my opinion. It is for the players who want to leave after they go through spring football and they realize, maybe they're going to get beaten out for a job or they just want to go somewhere else. And then all of a sudden now your team is scrambling to fill those spots. So the portal, again, in the spring will remain, but the overall days of the portal cut from 45 to 30.
The thing is, like, on this, and I understand certainly why they want to get rid of the spring portal, but anything that you do now that looks like you're taking away some of the freedoms from the players is not going to look good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, people have wanted all along for the players to be paid, all along for the players to have these freedom to move around and things like that. And if you start trying to take those away, that's going to look bad.
By the way, yesterday on the show, we teased at the end of the show the next day's guests, and I said, subject to change with Coach Ryan Silverfield. Originally, he would have been on today if the game was going to be played Friday, but with the game moved to Saturday, again, whether or not it gets played or not, that's a whole other question. But tomorrow, Ryan Silverfield will join us. So at 8:05, Coach Silverfield, followed by the Tiger Football Report. Yesterday was a big day, and I don't know how many people out there kind of understood what was going on, because we had two major stories. Now, one might be some pipe dream, a very rich pipe dream. The other one is more reality, as they've now taken another step towards revenue sharing and some of the details that were laid out. And I laid out for you guys on the show, where there will be a lot of schools that will not be able to do revenue sharing. And the difference between the haves and the have-nots, the chasm gets larger. And so we're headed toward a vote. I think it's in April, if I'm not mistaken. And if I remember this correctly, revenue sharing could be implemented as early as July 1st. So you got that going on, which is not nice. Then you have the super conference story, not the super conference story from last week, the one where they talked about 72 schools and Memphis would be included and all that jazz, where Greg Sankey quickly poo-pooed it, even though he didn't talk specifically about that one. But then we had the other story yesterday that, who was it, Dellinger story, that was just eye-popping. The money we're talking about that could be available for a super conference.
Yeah, I don't believe there's any chance of any of this happening.
But that one's more, I'm not going to say probable, because none of them are probable, but that one's more realistic. Realistic, because the money's there.
Well, yeah, I mean, they are investors. That's what they do. Like that, they've got tons of money. They're wanting to invest into this.
Yeah, it's like PIF. It's the Saudi. It's the American version of the Saudi version of golf. But
the
this is
SEC
football.
and the Big Ten don't need the outside money. They look at it and say, we don't need other people to do this. We can do this on our own. We're already doing it pretty much on our own. We can get, if the TV people are willing to pay that much more money or whatever, then we'll take it all ourselves. And they're meeting in Nashville this week discussing these types of things of how are we going to do this ourselves. I mean, basically, I'd love to be a fly on the wall with these meetings in Nashville, hear what the conversations are between the SEC and the Big Ten about what exactly their plans are going forward. But they are in no hurry to give up the power in college football, and they have all of it right now.
If two power conferences, the SEC and the Big Ten, break away and form their own league, basically, is that good for football? Is that good for college football in reality?
If you're in the SEC or Big Ten, it is.
No, for the overall general Joe Q public fan. Not everyone's a fan of the SEC. Not everyone's a fan of the Big Ten. Not everyone has an allegiance with those schools.
Obviously, you look at it, there's more schools being left out, but they don't care.
No, they don't care, but I wonder if college football fans overall care.
If you're a fan of a team that's in there, you're happy. If you're a fan of a team that's not in there, you're not. So by percentage, you would say there's probably more that aren't happy. But there's also the ones that are in or would be in have massive fan bases. So I don't know what the overall percentage is of total fans of college football who would be happy versus unhappy. They have if all of the big schools are in, well, you might have more fans that are happy than are unhappy.
Yeah, and of course you have the Notre Dame situation when we talked about that latest super conference proposal that Notre Dame and Jack Swarbrick, they have been spoken to. So that's incorporated into that discussion.
Well, Jack Swarbrick, who's no longer at Notre Dame, is a part of the group. But he works for those people.
You don't think he still has influence with Notre Dame, even though he's not working for them anymore? You don't think he still is in their best interest? Yeah. So I'm saying they at least, again, it's far-fetched, not as bad as the other one, but money sometimes talks. So you don't say, no, absolutely not, 100% it's not going to happen. And again, if you're talking about figures that Notre Dame won't be able to reach in their contract with NBC, then maybe it's something that they would be interested in. As far as the breakaway SEC Big Ten, what happens with Notre Dame there? That's the one I'm really interested in because of, Notre Dame bothers me because they have their own set of rules. But if the SEC says, I don't care about Notre Dame and Big Ten, I don't care. We're going to go on. Now, they may try to persuade him to add up to, if they're going to get to 18 each or they're going to go to 20 each, because the Big Ten is 18 right now. And the SEC has 16. So if you're going to 20, you're talking about adding 6 total teams. If you're going to 18, you only need 2 more, and it's the SEC. And it could very well be Florida State and Clemson if they can get out of their deal. But I don't know where that puts Notre Dame. Could you imagine, though, a league without Notre Dame? Because I can't.
It won't happen.
So what do you think? They
will include Notre Dame one way or another. Either they'll say, you're going to have to join the conference to be a part of this, or they'll make a special exception, whatever. They're not going to leave Notre Dame behind because they realize Notre Dame is big money.
You think Sankey would have a special exemption just for them, which they've always gotten anyway, but he would do that? Sankey?
Yeah, like Notre Dame has it again.
Like you're in, you're grandfathered in.
Notre Dame's AD is one of them. Like he's in all of these things. Like he's on equal footing with all of these conference commissioners. They sits in all these meetings. So yeah, I don't. Notre Dame is again. They're the most. They are the most powerful school.
Sure, the Notre Dame AD is in the meetings in Nashville right now with the SEC.
No, I'm talking about like the way college football is run right now.
No, I understand.
Conference commissioners and Notre Dame's AD.
Of course. No, yes, there's no mistaking the power of Notre Dame. But Greg Sankey's a czar, for goodness sakes.
But he also understands they are money. It doesn't matter. They're dollar signs. They're trying to make the most money possible. They want all the schools that make the most money. Notre Dame absolutely increases their value.
Do you believe that there are other schools that would be outside a 40-team or a 36-team league other than Notre Dame, which you would, like you said, would put them in there come hell or high water. Are there any other ones that you think that would be left out that would be financial boons for the Super Conference?
No.
So who's ever left, you don't believe has any power?
I mean, because those guys would know who is worth money and who's not, and if they're worth money to them, they would include them. I mean, it would be. I mean, if they're doing this, it's going to be in agreements with ESPN and Fox and everybody else, and they're going to say, "Well, we want that school or we don't want that school."
Yeah, but I wonder about somebody like, the oil schools, the Oklahoma States of the world, and their power, North Carolina and their power. Some of those schools that would be on the outside looking in of a super conference that includes just the Big Ten and the SEC. I don't know, just something. Again, I said it yesterday. I know it won't happen, but I would love to have everything ironed out before this new contract is signed. But that new contract, which they still have to negotiate, has to be signed fairly soon because it only runs through next season. I'm talking about for the playoff. You're still looking at the SEC and the Big Ten and the story from Heather Dinich about them wanting 4 automatics in that next contract. Each. 4 each into the playoff.
Yeah, again, they're gonna wield their power now, and the thing with Sankey especially, he basically always starts his negotiation by telling you, "Here's what I can do. Now, what are you going to let me do?"
Mm-hmm.
Like that's always okay. I mean, if you want, we can just do this on our own,
Right.
or you can let us have what we want.
Yeah, he
bullies
people around. But I like him.
It may not be that they end up getting 4 each, but they end up getting 3 each or whatever. But they know a number that they're willing to accept, and they're going to start, just like any other negotiation, higher and say, okay, we'll give you this concession.
Right.
But you're going to give us something else. So we'll go down to 3 as long as you give us this much more money or whatever. I mean, and he is negotiating he and Pernetti, or not Pernetti, Petiti, they are negotiating from the point of power. So you take advantage of all the leverage you can have. And when you're in this negotiation of saying, okay, again, and that's why, I'm sure in these meetings this week, they are discussing, these are the things we're going to tell them. Here's what we're going to lay out.
Yeah.
Here's what we're willing to accept. This is where we're going to start. Here's what, if we come down here, what we're going to get here. They're outlining their plan of, negotiation for what they want and what they're going to get in this next contract.
Do you think the SEC and the Big Ten have a special handshake? Behind closed doors?
It includes millions of dollars in that handshake.
No negotiations needed when it comes to Corky's Ribs and Barbecue. The only thing you have to decide on is what to eat, because there are so many different options at Corky's. Not just that delicious slow-smoked barbecue, but an award-winning catfish plate, tamales, even burgers. They have great desserts as well. 4 locations in the greater Memphis area: Poplar Avenue in Memphis, Poplar Avenue in Collierville, Germantown Parkway in Cordova, and Goodman Road in Olive Branch. They have been catering for as long as they've been in existence, 4 decades. So you have an event coming up, you want it catered by Corky's, just give them a jingle, they'll take care of you. Of course, tailgating, football season, makes sense to have Corky's for your tailgating parties, whether it be out at a high school football game or a college football game out in the parking lot, or you may just want to have that Corky's at home when you're watching football all day, including Sunday NFL action. You can drive through, no contact delivery, pick up yourself, have any of the services, the delivery services delivered to your home or office. It's Corky's. They also have a private party room at the Cordova and the Olive Branch locations. So if you have a birthday party celebration coming up, little anniversary, family reunion, whatever it may be, think about the private party room at the Cordova or the Olive Branch locations of Corky's. Corky's Ribs and Barbecue, open for lunch and dinner 7 days a week. We'll talk some Major League Baseball playoffs when we return. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Add a little fun to your lunch break. Join Johnny Radio for Sports 56 Happy Hour from 11 to 1 every weekday on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
You or someone you know or care about has dealt with a difficult divorce. When facing divorce, you need the attorneys at Rice Law. Nick and Larry Rice lead the firm with 3 generations and 7 decades of experience. Located in Memphis, serving the entire state of Tennessee and North Mississippi. Rice Law is who you need to call. Simple or difficult divorce, they know how to handle it. Call Rice Law at 901-526-6701, or for more information, visit them at aboutdivorce.com. That's aboutdivorce.com.
Mommy, want to play a game with me and Dad?
Mommy's not feeling good.
You need to vaporize that cold.
Vaporize?
Yeah, with Dayquil VapoCool. It's Dayquil plus a rush of Vicks vapors. Come on, honey. Let's let Mommy rest.
You guys are amazing. And so is Dayquil VapoCool.
Dayquil VapoCool, the vaporizing daytime coughing, aching, fever, power through your day medicine. And to vaporize sore throat pain, try Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. In these uncertain economic times, there are so many things as a contractor and a business owner that I cannot control. The rising cost of materials, not to mention fuel and transportation costs. In the last 2 years, shingle prices have almost doubled, and commercial materials have doubled. And I don't have to tell you what fuel costs these days. But you know what I can control? How much markup I put on a project. I have always prided myself in knowing I never gouge a customer. But in an effort to ensure my crews have work and my customers are being treated fairly, I have lowered my profit margin, hoping to give you a price you can live with and keeping my crews busy. So if you need a roof or gutters, please give us a call. Five Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. Five Ash Roofing, a proud sponsor of Tiger Athletics and a member of the Tigers home team. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Ole Miss Rebel Yell is back. The Rebel Yell Hotline Radio Show is back on WHBQ Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Every Monday night at 6, hear the latest news on your Ole Miss Rebels with Yancey Porter with 24/7 Sports, former Ole Miss defensive tackle Mike Fitzsimmons, Gordon Ford covering SEC Sports Call, and former Ole Miss baseball announcer Gary Darby. From kickoff to free throw to extra innings, your Ole Miss sports on the Rebel Yell Hotline Show right here Monday night at 6 on Sports 56, 560 AM and 98.5 FM. Your Mid-South Sports Station. Sports 56 traffic.
Good morning. It's trying to get busy out here in certain spots, like coming down I-40 westbound here at Germantown Parkway. Still holding up at the moment, 385 Billmores Parkway inbound out of Collierville all the way up to 240. It still looks good right now up from the south there on 55 northbound at State Line Road as that traffic builds coming up through South Haven. Hey, if you'd like to help out the hurricane victims, just log on to the American Red Cross's website. You can donate at redcross.org. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
The 98-win Dodgers and the 95-win Phillies are on the brink in the National League playoffs, the divisional round. The Phillies and the Dodgers both trail 2-1, and both could be eliminated today. Let's begin with the late game. The Padres over the Dodgers 6-5. Padres scored a bunch of runs early. Tatis continues to rip the ball. His 4th home run in the postseason with 7 runs batted in just 5 games. The Dodgers come back. The Teoscar Hernandez Grand Slam to make it 6-5, and it stays that way the rest of the way as the Padres get the win and grab a 2-1 series lead over the Dodgers in that big rivalry.
Yeah, that second inning for the Dodgers, disastrous, and they were big helpers in that. You had the error by Freeman, which really, it was really a smart play by Manny Machado to just get himself in the throwing lane that Freeman had to throw to second base. But then you had Miguel Rojas try and take the double play ball himself, ends up getting nobody out. Padres offense is too good to give them that type of stuff.
Right.
and Tatis is just, he is just locked in. I mean, it's crazy. His numbers in the postseason, especially early in games. When he grounded out in the first last night, that was the first time he had been retired, I think, in the first 3 innings of a game. And then he turns around and hits the 2-run home run in the next inning. I mean, he is just absolutely insane. And yeah, once Hernandez hit the grand slam to get within 6-5, I would not have guessed that was going to be the final score of the game.
Nor did I.
But the Padres at the trade deadline, what they did, one of the things they did is they went out and they added a lot of bullpen help. And they were able to figure out a way to piece it together and to get to the end. And they're hot. They're really, really good. You look at that lineup. You look at the pitching staff. They're going to be tough to beat in a series.
Well, you have Dylan Cease going tonight to try to end it for the Padres. The Dodgers going with Mr. Undecided. That's how rocky the Dodger staff is with injuries. So that's advantage San Diego. Now, last night, very interesting. Mookie Betts hit a home run. Nearly the same exact thing that we saw in Game 2. Same spot where Profar goes in, and it looks like he may have caught it, and he doesn't motion again. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. But he didn't get it this time, and Mookie had the home run.
Yeah, if he had gotten that would have been insane to think that the same guy robs the same guy.
In the same spot, basically. Same area.
Well, different ballpark.
Well, yeah, but in the same area of the ballpark. Left field, shallow, right over the wall.
I mean, it's Betts. You could tell Betts was like, no, he didn't just do that to me again. Like, tell me he didn't do that to me again. And he's like, okay, good. This is a home run.
Yeah, look like he stopped running, right?
No, I think he thought like that. I think he just did it to me again, and I'm not going to fall for it. I'm not going to fall for him having the ball and faking me out here. But yeah, the idea of you hitting 2 home runs just barely over the wall that a guy even has that close a chance to get in back-to-back games is insane.
And then earlier, my Phillies fall to the Mets 7-2. Aaron Nola, he made 2 mistakes. He gave up 2 solo home runs. It wasn't the end of the world. And Sean Manaea was great. 7 innings, 1 earned run, 3 hits, 6 strikeouts. But again, the Phillies bullpen comes in and they add gasoline to the fire. The Philadelphia bullpen, Eli, has now thrown 9 innings in this series. They have given up runs in 8 of those 9 innings, and multiple runs 5 of those 8, including a 5-run inning, a couple of 3-run innings. They stink. It's automatic they're giving up runs. The Phillies are in trouble. They're in big, big trouble. And you got to give credit to Manaea because he was good. He held those bats in check. And now you got Ranger Suarez, who I like, a lefty, against Quintana, a lefty as well for the Mets today. I believe that's the early game of the 4. No, it's the second game. That's the 4:08 game Central Time on FS1. But the Phillies are against the wall.
Yeah, I mean, the first dude that came out of the bullpen, almost, it looked like he was going to get out of the bases loaded jam. He got the first 2, and that could have been like that. That could have flipped that game. If you get out of the bases loaded, no out jam,
right?
Then, and you're only down 2-0 still, then, you certainly got a chance. But you give Starling Marte credit. I mean, he comes up with a big hit. 4-0 is a very large margin looking at in the postseason when you're struggling. So, yeah, it was the Mets again is they're hot. They came in hot. They're staying hot. Them and the Padres down the stretch were 2 of the hottest teams, and they look like it right now.
There is something to say about that. Uncle Mo or whatever, however you want to define it. Teams that are hot at the end of the season usually stay that way into the postseason. That we've talked about it with the NFL, about teams that had the bye and then the last game of the regular season, they didn't play their guys. And I'm not saying you got to play your starters the full allotment of time, but you can't have several weeks of inactivity and then expect to pick it right back up. There is something to say about teams that are hot in any sport going from the regular season into the postseason. Now, I still think the Phillies have an opportunity to get back in the series. They got to win today, obviously. It's do or die, and I think they have a great chance. I like the pitcher that's throwing. And then you turn around, if you can get this done in Game 5, I guess Game 5 would be Thursday or Friday? It would be Friday. So Wheeler can go. Now, Rob Thompson will probably take him out, throwing a no-hitter in the 8th inning and bring in the bullpen and lose the game, but we'll see what happens there. So the Guardians-Tigers today.
Well, certainly you don't think he should have left Nola in yesterday.
No, I didn't have a problem with that, but still, I'm still going to bust their chops because they still give up runs. I mean, I didn't mind him yanking Nola when he did, but you got to get somebody out, for goodness sakes. I mean, if I gambled against the Phillies, if I bet, like, I'm telling people they're going to score. And if people are good in the live betting and all that, they should make a lot of money of what I've been saying. Because I know my team. I know my bullpen. It's happened like this for years. It's happened like this. They got guys, they went out and spent money to bring in some of the guys that they brought in, and they just falter when it comes to the postseason. So, yeah, no, I didn't have a problem with him taking him out, but I knew what was going to happen. So today, Alex Cobb for the Guardians. The Tigers are undecided with the series even at 1, with the scene shifting to Detroit for Game 3 in the ALDS. The other one, the Yankees and the Royals, they go to Kansas City. Kansas City's had a hotbed of sports this week for their fans with the Monday night game with the Chiefs. And now they have the Yanks for 2. Seth Lugo will go for the Royals. Clark Schmidt goes for the Yankees. That one's at 6:08. So you got the 2 American League games, the first and third games of the day, and then the National League game in the middle of those first 2, and then the late game, of course, the Dodgers and the Padres. That is your up-to-date situation in the baseball playoffs.
It is a sign of the times in baseball a little bit, but it is crazy to think that, we've got, a 1-1 series and then a team that's down 2-1 that don't know their starting pitcher in a game that's later today.
Right.
Well, the Tigers don't have starting pitchers. Like, they just don't. Like, they only have a couple, so they're just figuring out which opener to use and then piece together a bullpen game and go from there. The Dodgers, obviously, all the injuries have limited their options in the starting pitching world, but it's funny to see. We don't know who we're starting yet.
Think about this. Now, I understand the Mets have a large payroll. I understand the Padres have spent a lot of money to get their players. Okay, so I get it. But there is a chance that the Phillies are eliminated, the Dodgers are eliminated, the Yankees are eliminated. Wow. Before they even get to the championship series in their respective leagues. That's crazy. NFL news. Of course, yesterday, the big news that broke on our show was the firing of Robert Saleh. And then, of course, all the stories came out that he was escorted out of the building. Every time you read that, like he's escorted out of the building, you think he's having a temper tantrum. He's throwing things. He's punching people. Well, I mean, that's what happens anytime you're let go. You're at the site of the job. You're now no longer an employee. You're escorted out. That's just the way it is. So I don't know if they build up some story that really wasn't much of a story. But anyway, it is a story that he was fired 5 games in. And Aaron Rodgers will be on the McAfee show today, his weekly visit. Be interested to see what he says, if he says anything relevant. Also, as far as quarterbacks are concerned, we mentioned...
My guess to that is he will not.
He will sidestep it all. Drake May, I think we mentioned this at the end of the show yesterday, that it does appear that Gerard Mayo will go to the rookie finally out of the University of North Carolina, as he'll get the start in place of Jacoby Brissett. Also, Derek Carr, an oblique injury. Looks like he's going to miss several games. Jake Haener is the likely candidate to replace Carr, although they also have Spencer Rattler from South Carolina who could get the nod, but more than likely it would be Haener who came in for Carr.
A lot of people think it will be Rattler.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Then why did they go to Haener? You think, because Rattler wasn't dressed?
Yeah, I think Rattler was probably the emergency quarterback for that game.
Okay. All right, so
I don't know, and I don't know what I'm sure it'll be somewhat of a competition in practice, but they made some people believe they will turn to Rattler.
Yeah, I always liked Rattler. I did. I know he had some ill-advised passes where he threw some picks, but I thought he had the arm strength, the athleticism, and I knew he was going to make an NFL team. I didn't know what the situation was going to be for him. I like Hayner too. I think the Saints actually have some pretty good quarterbacks. So yeah, that'll be neat to see how that one battles. And who knows? Carr is expected to miss a couple of games, and they may go with one. And if there's some ineffectiveness, bring in the other one. That's always that possibility. When we come back, the NBA Executives Annual Anonymous Poll. Some of the questions interesting that involve some of the Grizzlies. We'll talk about that when we return.
This hour program is brought to you by the Big Green Egg. Go to biggreenegg.com for all the details, all the information, all the different sizes of the egg. Of course, you could see all the different sizes of the egg in person by going to the Ace Hardware stores or Hamilton Fireplace here around town. They've got all the different sizes, 7 different sizes for you to choose from. So however big a grill you need, they've got one for you, and all the egg accessories as well that make it the best grill there is. Also the last grill you'll ever need to buy with that lifetime guarantee on the Big Green Egg.
You're tuned in to Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
The team's looking good this season.
I think so. Man, I miss playing football. Being young with unlimited energy to burn. Ever since I turned 40, I just can't find that fire I used to have.
Think you could be lower testosterone?
What do you mean?
All guys lose their edge when they turn 40. Your body has less testosterone. That's why I take Nugenix Total T.
I've heard about Nugenix. That really works?
Since I started taking Nugenix, I'm lifting like when we played for Coach Carter. I feel more energized at work. It's even spiced up things between me and the missus.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try?
Yep, send a text. It's that easy.
Text GRIT to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. It's the #1 selling testosterone boosting brand at GNC and Walmart. Do it now and they'll also send you a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, their newest, most powerful fat burner ever, absolutely free. Text GRIT to 42424. That's GRIT to 42424. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
To understand what makes Genesis Diamonds so different than other jewelry stores, you have to go back over 40 years to the diamond cutting capital of Tel Aviv, Israel. That's where Genesis owner Boaz Ramon grew up, in the center of the diamond universe. His connections with the best diamond cutters allowed him special access, giving rise to a thriving wholesale business here in the United States. Then, after a few years, this wholesaler changed the game and started selling these precious diamonds direct to the public at the same prices he had sold to the jewelry stores. The no middleman concept became an instant success. Today, Genesis Diamonds provides that extraordinary value to people right here in Middle Tennessee, leading the industry with the highest quality diamonds that still come straight from the best cutters, offered at the guaranteed best price of any jewelry store in America. Genesis Diamonds, a truly revolutionary concept with a unique history rooted in quality, committed to excellence, and always focused on value. Genesis Diamonds, luxury premium Rolexes, and Poplar and Perkins Extended.
Now, back to Sports 56 Mornings on Sports 56 and 95 FM. This hour brought to you by
The Grizzlies will host the Charlotte Hornets tomorrow night in their second preseason game and their first of 2 at home at FedEx Forum. And the annual general manager's anonymous poll has come out where the GMs are asked 50 questions about the best teams, players, coaches, off-season moves, all that good stuff. Again, they do it every year. And so here are some of the questions, some of the answers from the GMs around the league. Which team will win the 25 NBA championship, 24-25 season? The Celtics. They think the Celtics will repeat. 83% went with the Celtics. The Thunder, second at 13%. The Mavericks, third at 3%. Thoughts?
No surprise. Celtics are obviously really good and returning pretty much their entire team. So, yeah, I would think that's probably a pretty logical bet.
Western Conference pick. Now, the percentage of total points, you get 4 for first, 3 for second, 2 for third, 1 for fourth. Oklahoma City, obviously, was the pick. They got 80% of the first place votes. Minnesota got no first place votes, but they overall finished second from the GMs. Denver third, Dallas fourth, Phoenix fifth, and the Grizzlies at number 6. So, no first place votes. They got 3% second, 7% third, 10% fourth. So the Grizzlies picked 6th. By the way, New Orleans 7th and Golden State 8th. So that leaves out the Lakers, leaves out the Clippers, leaves out the young Rockets, the Jazz, the Trailblazers. Sacramento. Good young team. So there you go. Looks like the GMs respect the Grizzlies a little bit more than some of the media members around the country. Who will win the MVP? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander got 40% of the vote. He's the pick. Luka Doncic second at 30%. And then Nikola Jokic and Jason Tatum tied for third. If you were starting a franchise today and could sign any player in the NBA, who would it be? Do you have a guess?
It's Victor Wembanyama.
You are correct. 77% of the vote. Which player forces opposing coaches to make the most adjustments? Luka Doncic, number 1 at 33%. Which player is most likely to have a breakout season in 24-25? Jalen Williams, the Jalen Williams from Oklahoma City at 13%. Tied for second, Evan Mobley and Ja Morant, 10%. Who is the best point guard in the NBA? Doncic, number 1. Who is the best shooting guard in the NBA? Edwards, number 1. Who is the best small forward in the NBA? Tatum, number 1. Best power forward? Giannis, 77% of the vote. And the best center with 87% of the vote is Jokic.
My favorite, Luka is best among point guards, 5th best among shooting guards, and 2nd among best small forwards.
He's versatile. Which one player acquisition will make the biggest impact? Paul George, Sixer, 60%. And then a tie for second between Mikal Bridges. The Knicks got him. Karl Anthony Towns. The Knicks got him. Who was the most underrated player acquisition? Alex Caruso, Oklahoma City at 23%. Which team will be the most improved in 24-25? Who do you think it is?
The Grizzlies.
67% for the Grizzlies. The GMs are high on the Grizz.
Well, I mean, I'm surprised that wouldn't be like everybody. I mean, unless you think they're going to have another decimated year. I mean, stands to reason that they're going to be very much improved from a team that lost their entire roster last year to injury.
Right, and you can't assume injury. Spurs second, by the way, on that list at 13%. What was the most surprising move of the offseason? The Cat move, which just happened a few days ago, at 27%. Rookies and international. Who will win the 24-25 Rookie of the Year? Reed Shepherd at 50%, Zach Edey at 30%. Okay, I get it. I understand. This one I don't. Which rookie will be the best player in 5 years? Reed Shepherd again, 43%. Stephon Castle, 17%. You do not see Zach Edey anywhere, not even receiving a single vote. So what is the thought? That he's going to fizz out right away?
Well, he is what he is. Like, Zach Edey kind of is what he is as a player. These other guys are younger guys that will develop, and he's.
But he's good enough to be the second best pick this year.
Right now, again, guys. A lot of these guys are there's developmental guys that aren't that good right now. Zach Edey kind of is what he is, and in 5 years will probably be similar to what he is right now.
Which rookie was the biggest steal at where he was selected in the draft? There is a bunch of tie for first. Bub Carrington, Devin Carter, Johnny Furphy, Dalton Knecht, Terrence Shannon Jr., and Nikola Topic, all tied. Best international player, Jokic. Best defensive player, Victor Wembanyama. Marcus Smart got a vote. Jaren Jackson Jr. did not get a vote. Was that a fluke that he won the Defensive Player of the Year 2 years ago?
No.
Didn't get a vote.
That's crazy to just think about that for a second. The GMs of the league picked what's Wembanyama now? 21?
Young.
He's 20.
20. A guy 20 years old who's played one season in the NBA. But that's like how good he is. The GM say he is the best defensive player in the entire league.
Yeah, 40%.
Like it's
40. He got 40% of the vote.
Freak of nature that dude is. Like just over all of those other guys, they're like, nope. Yeah, the 20-year-old who we've seen for 70 games, that's the guy.
Best perimeter defender in the NBA, no surprise, Drew Holiday. Marcus Smart did get some votes. Best interior defender, of course, is Wembanyama. Most versatile defender in the NBA is Giannis. Marcus Smart, again, got some votes. Jaren Jackson Jr. does not appear on any of these defensive...
He does. Best interior defender, he got votes.
Oh, did he? Okay. But last year, he was the pick. Last year, he got 30% from the GMs coming off that Defensive Player of the Year award. Which is the best defensive team? Celtics, 57% of the vote. Coaches, who's the best coach? Who do you think?
I'm looking at it, so I'll say Eric Spoelstra.
Oh, you've pulled it up. Come on, man, you're no fun. Spoelstra, best head coach. Head coach, who's the best manager, motivator of people? Spoelstra. Which head coach makes the best in-game adjustments? Tyronn Lue. I don't see. Does Taylor get any?
Taylor Jenkins got 7%.
Where is he?
That's
okay,
he got two,
tied for fourth.
Means he got 2 votes.
Let's see. Which new or relocated head coach will make the biggest impact on his new team? Mike Budenholzer, Phoenix, got 40% of the vote. Who is the best assistant coach in the NBA? Sam Cassell and Micah Nori both got 17%. There's a lot of guys listed here. Do they list the new guy from Memphis? I know there's a bunch of new guys, but the guy is he from France? Where's he from?
Yeah, no Grizzlies guys got any votes there.
Which active player will make the best head coach someday? Chris Paul, number 1 at 30%.
Chris Paul wins that, I think, every year. I don't know how many. He's on a run, I believe, in that. I know he won last year. I don't remember how many years, but I know he's very high. Maybe he hasn't won it every year, but he's very high every year in that.
Which team is the most fun to watch? Indiana, number 1 at 37%, then Oklahoma City at 27%. Grizzlies didn't get a vote. They're a fun team to watch. As long as they're on the court and they're healthy, they're a fun team to watch. I'm surprised they didn't get any votes. Which team has the best home court advantage? Denver. Which team's level of success this season is toughest to predict? The Lakers, number 1 at 17%. The Grizzlies got votes. I think the Grizzlies are tough. I think certainly they'll be incredibly and vastly improved because of just the injury factor, but I don't know in the pecking order where they'll end up falling. Which team is the most promising young core? Oklahoma City is 1. Most athletic player, Anthony Edwards. Best pure shooter, come on. You don't need me to tell you that. Steph. Which player is the fastest with the ball?
Luke Kennard got votes.
Oh, yeah, he did.
He got 1 vote.
There you go. De'Aaron Fox, which player is the fastest with the ball? John Morant, second. Fox at 52%, Morant at 38%. Which player is the best moving without the ball? Steph Curry, 83%. Watch Steph Curry, and I'm sure you guys have done this. Like, if you're watching the game, if you see him in person, how he's moving all the time. Just continually moving. Desmond Bain got some votes as far as that's concerned. Which player is the best passer? Jokic, number one. Big guy. Let's see. Best basketball IQ? Jokic. Which player would you want taking the shot with the game on the line? Steph Curry. What rule regarding play schedule, draft lottery, playoff format, roster construction, etc., most needs to change? The roster construction, number one. Apron rules / trade math, too restrictive, or should be indexed to team's market. Huh? That's 20%. Schedules, number two. Fewer games and or back-to-backs, got 17%. There you go. That's what the GMs think. A lot of faith in the Boston Celtics, a lot of faith in Victor Wembanyama. And Nikola Jokic?
In the rule changes, the tied for third is the game flow, and they say reduce stoppages and replay reviews or change to the G League's one free throw rule. There's no way in hell that they're going to go to that one free throw rule at the NBA level.
No chance. No chance.
Because it completely changes statistics. They'll never, ever, ever do that. They also had the playoff format, seeding 1 through 16, or letting the top seeds choose opponents that got votes.
Letting teams choose opponents? Interesting.
The one I don't know why I don't understand why the GMs especially don't want more of them don't want this. Like 2 of them voted for it. Free agency before the draft. That I don't understand why they don't like. I would think every GM would want the free agency before the draft.
I agree with that.
I don't. It makes no sense
where you
to me
stand
because but only 2 of them apparently voted for having the free agency before the draft. Genesis Diamonds, for all your jewelry needs, folks, head on over to Poplar and Perkins Extended. See the great folks at Genesis Diamonds, that great staff they have over there. Not working on commission, not there to pressure you into buying the most expensive thing in the store, just there to help you. Help you pick out a perfect piece of jewelry for you or for someone else. But help you understand what you're buying and why it's priced the way it is and make you a smarter jewelry shopper, whether you're buying from them or somewhere else. You'll know what you should be looking for and what affects prices. They've got everything you need when it comes to selection, great prices, and great service. Genesis Diamonds, Poplar, and Perkins Extended.
We open hour 2 talking some Tennessee Vols football with Dave Hooker. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Need good food fast? You need 901 Eats to Go in Bartlett. Meat in 2 sides. Chicken wings and tenders, cheeseburger, Philly cheesesteak, even catfish, plus sides and drinks. 901 Eats to Go has everything you want when you want it at prices you can afford. Call 901-417-8232. Pick up, DoorDash, Uber Eats, or online at 901eats.com. That's Eats with a Z. Delicious and convenient. 901 Eats to Go. 3135 Kirby Wooden Road in Bartlett. Good food fast.
Summer may be over, but yard work, it goes on. Don't worry, Colonial Hardware makes it easy for you. Colonial Hardware has all the lawn and garden tools you need from the best brands in the business. Ferris, Snapper, Husqvarna, Toro, Echo, Shindaiwa, and Billigo. Servicing most brands of lawn equipment, Colonial's master service techs will keep you going year-round. Colonial Hardware, family-owned and operated, and serving you for nearly 50 years. Thanks to Bass Pro Lincoln and Sycamore View, and online at colonialhardwareinc.com. Don't do it.
Don't do what?
Don't do another Halloween spot for Central Barbecue.
But it's October. Doing a Halloween spot for Central Barbecue is a tradition.
But it doesn't make it a good thing.
Nothing else happens in October.
Baseball?
Not if you're a Cardinals fan. What else you got?
National Candy Corn Day.
No Central Barbecue connection.
Fair point. How about Make a Difference Day?
That's to encourage people to do something constructive for the world.
And going to Central Barbecue isn't?
I'm telling you, it's got to be Halloween.
There's no other choice, I guess.
Hey, Zeke.
Yeah?
This year, give the kiddies ribs on Halloween. They love that.
Seriously, next year, something new. When you're working outdoors, unpredictability is the norm, so tackle your toughest jobs with the 2025 Honda Pioneer 700. This rugged side-by-side brings power to any party with reliable torque for towing and smooth shifting for the trails. And you can choose between 3 trims, standard, deluxe, or the Trade Timber Force Edition, equipped for ultimate backwoods adventures. See the 2025 Honda Pioneer 700 today at DeSoto Honda, 5656 Newman Road in Old Branch. Under safety measures may apply. Production uses sanitizers. Always wear seatbelts. Honda motorcycles are for under 16 years and older.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good morning. It is building a bit here on 385 Bill Morris Parkway at Riverdale. Coming inbound, they are all the way up to 240 as traffic increases up through the Midtown area. 240 northbound at Lamar still looks good right now. 40 east as you come across the Hernando de Soto Bridge over from West Memphis. Weimer's Jewelry, 7525 Highway 64 is your full-service family-owned jewelry store right here in the Memphis area. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studios, we are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis.
Now back to Sports 56 mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers.
Genuine diamonds, baby.
Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, everyone. 8:02 the time. Hour 2 here on Sports 56 Mornings. The Wednesday, October 9th, 2024 edition. Greg Gaston, Eli Savoy, and Elijah Seegers. We're in the Family Leisure Studios. Family Leisure, it's where family and fun come together. 2120 Whitten Road, just north of I-40. Currently 51, but it's going to get up to 81 today. Sunshine. Then tonight, an overnight low into Thursday morning of 53, but clear skies, and then more sun tomorrow, with temperatures at about 83, 84 degrees for your Thursday, but another pleasant day today here in Memphis and the entire Mid-South. James Gaddis Jewelers is the second-hour sponsor of Sports 56 Mornings. They are your family's jeweler, located at 4900 Poplar Avenue between Mendenhall and St. Nick, and on the web at gaddisjewelers.com. I've talked about this before. I'll talk about it again. They can customize jewelry. So you got an old piece of jewelry laying around or a family heirloom, you want to modernize it, they can do that and make it to your specifications. That's something really neat when you're thinking about Christmas, holiday presents for somebody. Do something like that instead of just certainly you can buy them a brand new piece of jewelry, but something that's maybe been in the family for years and it's just sitting around collecting dust. They can do that for you at James Gaddis Jewelers. They'll provide a free 3D rendering of what it will look like in just a couple of days, and then they'll work on it and get that piece all ready for you. James Gaddis Jewelers is your bridal engagement and anniversary jeweler headquarters. So folks who are thinking about popping the question, you're looking for that beautiful engagement ring, they have engagement rings of all types and all types of prices. They make sure they have a price point to suit everyone's budget. So whether it's a couple thousand or $75,000 or whatever the case may be, James Gaddis Jewelers has those beautiful diamonds ready for you. They also have watches of all types, bracelets and necklaces, earrings and pendants, plus one-of-a-kind estate and vintage jewelry. It's James Gaddis Jewelers, your family's jeweler, 4900 Poplar Avenue between Mendenhall and St. Nick, and on the web at gaddisjewelers.com. It was not a good week for the Tennessee Volunteers. They hope to bounce back this week. It is always great to talk about the Tennessee Volunteers with a guy who's been covering them for many years. His name is Dave Hooker. He's been on with us a number of times, and we appreciate him joining us now. He's the host of Off the Hook Sports. You can follow him on Twitter at the Dave Hooker. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning. It has been a lot of years. I was just counting it up. I think I've actually witnessed 890 losses to Florida by Tennessee when you do the math over the past 25 years. So, it's funny. The fan base goes into this one thinking that disaster's looming. Maybe that's good news, because every other year it seems like this is the year that Tennessee's going to beat Florida, but that certainly hasn't usually been the case.
Yeah, hopefully for their sake it's not 891. But let me ask you this, playing off the name of your show, do you let the Vols off the hook for a loss at Arkansas where they only score 14 points?
Man, that's a tough question. I don't let Josh Heupel off the hook because I think that he has not recruited offensive linemen and or developed them to the point that they've got strong offensive tackles. And I think that was very evident against Oklahoma when injuries hit that position. But the fact that it was evident last week when everybody was healthy is the most disconcerting aspect of Tennessee's football program right now. So I do let Nico off the hook a little bit. I thought they showed him a lot of different looks. It was just his sixth start, so I don't think he's necessarily going to be perfect. But I will also say this. I don't want to be an apologist for him because we saw guys like Tim Tebow and Johnny Manziel make off-schedule plays that I thought Nico would be able to make when things weren't going well as a whole offense. And he really looked unsteady. So that part surprises me, but I do believe that it's still that tackle position that is most pressing for Tennessee.
So with that in mind, how do they get this offense back going? And with, obviously the competition's a lot stiffer than what they faced earlier, so you're not going to be putting up maybe the 50s and the 70s and all that. But how do they get back going offensively?
Well, Tennessee's coaches and some guys that I have on would say this is oversimplifying it, but I'm going to oversimplify it. I think it's to play that 12 personnel, and for those that don't know, it's one running back, 2 tight ends, that was successful against Oklahoma, made them a running football team. I think that protects Tennessee's tackles, but I think the issue is Josh Heupel likes numbers. He likes being the coach that throws it downfield but still has a solid running game. And right now, outside of the 12 personnel, I'm not sure that they have either. So what you're seeing are defenses drop back, and in Arkansas's case, show blitz and drop back or show that they're going to drop back in the zone and then blitz. That confused Nico. But I say simplify the whole thing. Tennessee is a running football team first, despite all the long touchdowns they've had under Josh Heupel. So I would hunker down and make sure with 2 more big guys in there that I could run the football. And I know people don't like to hear this, but don't worry about up-tempo. Play tempo, and by tempo I mean slow tempo, slow down the game a little bit and make things easier for Nico. But I've been told by those in Tennessee's football program that it's not that easy, but it sure seems that way to me.
Dave Hooker joining us on the Sissy's Log Cabin guest line. All right, certainly one loss does not end a season when you have a 12-team playoff. You understand that. We understand that. But I don't know if the fan base understands that. What's been the reaction since that loss to Arkansas?
Oh, it's been Josh Heupel is going to be a coach that can't control the locker room. He's going to lose one game he shouldn't every year. It's Nico is now a bust. I mean, it's as strong as you might imagine. And I don't blame Tennessee fans for feeling like that because we had been, we, the media and the fan base, had been fed that Nico was living up to expectation and that he was going to be a star out of the chute. So that was a lot to ask in retrospect. But, yeah, the reaction's been pretty strong, and I can't imagine what it'll be like if Tennessee loses to Florida, which would pretty much eliminate them from the college football playoff conversation, because a team that loses two teams that they're double-digit favorites in, I have trouble believing they're going to beat Georgia and Alabama later in the year.
Do you expect a big bounce back against Florida? Or do you think this was a sign of trouble and that they'll have trouble against Florida too?
No. I'm 50-50 that I think that Tennessee I don't think the offensive tackle position is going to go away and the issue there. So if they mask it with what I discussed, yes, they could win the game. And they typically play a lot better at home and typically are able to complete a lot more downfield passes at home than on the road, which is an issue, but not this week. There's another part of me, and there were a couple of comments that came after post-game, and Dylan Sampson said that Tennessee was a bit lackadaisical in their bye week before the Arkansas game. And then Keenan Pilley, the linebacker, was asked right after that about those comments, and he said, well, I didn't think so. So I always wonder if there could be a rift between the offense or defense based off those couple of answers. And it was kind of flip-flopped in 2022 when Tennessee had one of the worst defenses in the nation and one of the best offenses in the nation. So that ended up blowing up before the South Carolina game because of issues between the two sides. And I think you have to be concerned because Tennessee has, I believe, a really good defense that got hung out to dry by time of possession in the first quarter and first half and were tired later. So I think that's always a concern when you have one side of the ball that's playing at a high level and the other's kind of letting them hang out to dry, as I said.
I'm not ready to proclaim Florida fixed. They were really bad early, and I still don't think they're a great football team. But last weekend, they held UCF to 13. Now, I don't know if Gus's team is really good offensively or not, or that was a great defensive performance by Florida. But it looks like on that side of the ball, they can compete. So it'll be interesting. I think that's going to be the matchup. You just talked about what they need to do offensively, Tennessee. I think Florida could hang in the game because of their defense. I think overall, though, Tennessee is a couple of touchdowns better than Florida. But as you said, the history, although they did, Florida lost the last time they were in Knoxville, if I'm not mistaken, but the history certainly favors Florida in this one. And I don't know if history plays into a different game, a different year. Those players couldn't care less about history, but there is something to say about it.
Yeah, I think Florida's won 7 of the last 9, I believe, and 15 of the last 17. So those numbers are a little bit startling. But and if you go back to that 2022 game, if you remember, Tennessee dominated and let Florida back in it, and Anthony Richardson launched a Hail Mary that was short of the end zone, or they could have won that game. So for whatever reason, and listen, I used to cover, as we mentioned, I'm old, but I used to cover the Tennessee Florida series in the 90s and the 2000s. I remember interviewing a defensive tackle about that, and I said, "Are the coaches any different?" And he goes, "Yeah, they get really tight." Well, I mean, he wasn't allowed to speak to the media the rest of the year. I don't think that happens anymore because these guys weren't born largely before these streaks and that stuff. But there's something weird about this series where Florida seems to play their best game and Tennessee finds a way to lose. I mean, we could go back to the Jabbar Caffney catch, no catch. We could go back to several different times in which over the series I thought Tennessee was the better team and they ended up losing. So kind of one of those I'll believe it when I see it, but Tennessee should win by double digits, if not 2 touchdowns.
You look at the stretch of the schedule. I mean, you got 4 straight home games with a bye week in there. Now, granted, Alabama's one of those games, but this is certainly an opportunity for them to get right.
Oh, I don't think there's any question that the schedule makers of the SEC thought of Tennessee as one of their more exciting programs. I think that their schedule was very beneficial. I think Ole Miss's schedule was very beneficial. So I think they expected Tennessee to be in the thick of it. But, we'll see if they're in the thick of it after the game on Saturday. And then you've got Alabama coming to town, which obviously has their issues. But, no, you're right. You have another bye week coming out. They're spread out well. But, if they're lackadaisical, as Dylan Sampson said, Tennessee's running back in that bye week, it's not going to benefit them. And then he also used the words antsy and frantic because of being lackadaisical in the final moment. So you don't want to be that headed into November.
I think your point you made earlier is right on target when you said they can ill afford another loss to a double-digit underdog. That would only be 2 losses, and there's going to be 2 lost teams, obviously, in the playoff. But those 2 losses that they would have at Arkansas, even though it was a roadie, and the game against Florida, if it happens, I think it does put them and their season on the brink. I think they'd be in trouble. Now, if they win this game and then get ready for Alabama and lose that game against Alabama, I don't know if they necessarily would be out of it. I don't think they would in that case. Would you agree with that?
I think if they were to beat Florida, win the games they should, and split the Alabama-Georgia games one way or another, I think that they would make the college football playoff. Now, Heather Dinich of ESPN has reported that a 10-2 Tennessee team might not make it. So, we're in uncharted waters. I believe a 10-2, just by definition, from the SEC should make it. However, what if there's 6?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's a possibility. So, really, I mean, to ensure that you're in the college football playoff and Tennessee and what I've seen from the SEC this year, you need to go 11-1. If you're 10-2, you could get left out. And let's not forget that 2 years ago, Tennessee was ranked behind Alabama despite beating them in the college football playoff rankings headed into the postseason. So I have no reason to think that the college football playoff committee is going to do Tennessee any favors.
What did Nico have to say, or what was the explanation for the final play where instead of throwing it up for the end zone, he just ran out of bounds?
I'll tell you, but it's not going to make you feel any better about Nico. So he said he was looking for a receiver, and then that receiver was covered, so it was going to be immediately knocked down, which in retrospect wouldn't have been that bad because you would have had another play. And then he rolled out, and he wanted to throw it up to Chris Brazzell, who you guys have seen just a little bit, but I can promise you he's a go up and get the ball type of guy, and that's probably what he should have done. And then he was waiting for him, and the ball slipped, which, remember, he had 2 strip sacks, which I blame on Tennessee's offensive tackles again against Oklahoma, but still, you've got to have ball security. So he said the ball slipped in his hands, and he then ran out of bounds inexplicably. I guess he thought he might have a second left.
Come on.
It was.
You know anything can happen,
I mean,
Dave, right? You know that there could be a deflection and a fluke play and a game winner on some weird thing. It's like never up, never in. You step out of bounds, man. To me, it looked like he didn't want to throw a pick. He didn't want to have a pick, a blemish on his stats, and I don't like that at all.
Okay, I think you're onto something there. Now, I'm not sure it's from Nico, but I do think he's been overcoached to not make mistakes, and I think that's why they're not throwing in the middle of the field, which was a hallmark in 2022 with Hendon Hooker, but Tennessee didn't do last year with Joe Milton because of his accuracy issues and the fact that he liked to throw it as hard as he could every time. But I think you're onto something there. Is Nico being overprotected? I think you could make a really strong argument that is the fact and has actually hampered his play.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, I guess you could. But I mean, also, it was the first time he's been in any situation like that at the college level, and it was on the road. Like, I mean, who knows what was running through his head? Like, he hadn't played a real close game. He's on the road with that atmosphere. I mean, and it might be from overcoaching. I'm sure he had a lot of stuff running through his head.
Yeah, and he probably has a $2 million annual paycheck, and then increased NIL money from Beats by Dre and all of that. There is going to be a poster boy somewhere in the NCAA about how NIL put too much pressure on a player and he crumbled underneath it. If you want to think about the NFL level, it's like Todd Marinovich. You guys are old enough to remember him with the Raiders. So, I mean, there's going to be someone that's going to be the poster boy for that, and right now, I think there has to be a little bit of concern that he could be that. I think he'll be fine, but his calm, cool, collected demeanor can't just trot out of bounds on the game's final play with no time left on the clock.
Yeah, and that point you just made is a great, great point because, yes, I agree with you wholeheartedly that there's going to be not just one. There's going to be several times when players will have that much pressure on them because of the money they're making through NIL that they don't want to fail. For the fan base, they want to fail for themselves, their teammates. There's a lot of pressure, and they'll succumb to the pressure. Not saying that that's Nico, but certainly I think you're on to something there. He is Dave Hooker. He's the host of Off the Hook Sports. You can follow him on Twitter at the Dave Hooker. How can people listen to the podcast?
I just go to offthehooksports.com and wherever you podcast, and we're on the YouTube there, as the kids call it. And so, yeah, if you just go to Off the Hook Sports. We're site's completely free. We're advertising based. You guys can appreciate that. So I would love for people to check it out, and we try to be objective and bring news. And we've got some takes, but I think people will enjoy what we've got going on.
Dave, we enjoy having you on. We'll talk to you soon.
Anytime, guys. Have a great day.
You too. hopefully for his sake, the sake of the Vols fans, there's not a lot of gator chomping going on Saturday.
Well, he said the track record against Florida is not very good, but boy, if they lose this one, yeah, I would imagine the sky will be falling if they go into the Alabama game on a 2-game losing streak against Arkansas and Florida, knowing Georgia's also on the horizon. Yikes.
There'll be a lot of folks from this area that'll be heading to Knoxville, a lot of Vols fans that have season tickets and they go to the games. And when you're heading up there and you're looking for something great to eat, and you'll bring along with you, how about some hot wings from the Crazy Coop? Yeah, bring them up there, tailgate with them. You'll enjoy. It's always a good time for the best wings in Memphis, and that's wings from the Crazy Coop. There is nothing better for game time eats than chicken wings. But what makes the chicken wing? The seasoning. That makes the chicken wing. Anybody can make a chicken wing. But it's that seasoning that makes the difference. And nobody does it better than the Crazy Coop at 7199 Stage Road, west of Appling. And soon they'll be in downtown Memphis. I saw the store and the sign and everything when I was downtown maybe 2 weeks ago. They got to be close to near opening that thing. So I'm going to find out exactly what the date is, when the grand opening will be, and I'll let you know about that. Over 32 mouth-watering secret sauces and counting. They're always looking to add one of those great flavors, the jalapeno cheddar. I'm not big into the jalapenos or the hot stuff, but I love the barbecue bacon bourbon. And don't bother asking them for the secret recipes. They're not going to give them to you. No matter how large your tailgating is or the family is at home, kick off your game day with Crazy Coop party packs. Plus, they have special bulk prices. Visit crazycoopstage.com to customize your wings and your sauces. Whole wings, boneless wings. They got the crazy hot suicide, Parmesan fries, fried dill pickles, all the fixins. Don't forget the carrots and celery sticks. And for the full menu, which includes juicy burgers, catfish fillets, chicken nuggets, and crazy kid meals, you can go to crazycoopstage.com. That's crazycoopstage.com. You'd be crazy not to visit the Coop. You're tuned in to Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Join the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, for Wolo and Friends. Weekday mornings from 10 to 11 here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Spencer here with ATC Fitness. There's no better time of the year than now. Football and fitness go hand in hand in the fall. And with individual screens on each piece of cardio and multiple big screens throughout the rest of the club, you'll never miss a bit of the action watching your favorite team. ATC Fitness continues to be the Mid-South's choice for fitness, family-owned for 30 years, and proud supporters of Coach Silverfield and the Memphis Tigers. Join online at atcfitness.com. ATC Fitness. Exercise your way to look good.
The 2025 Range Rover Sport sits right at the heart of the Land Rover lineup, offering a perfect mix of style, performance, and versatility. Smaller and more agile than a full-size Range Rover, it's a great option for everyone who wants luxury and practicality. Every model comes with 8-speed automatic transmission and all-wheel drive standard. Whether you navigate city streets or tackle rough terrain, Range Rover Sport has you covered. Every drive is powerful and breathtaking. The 2025 Range Rover Sport is the epitome of sporty luxury. Test drive one in Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City.
If you need glass replaced, there's only one name you need to know. Binswanger Glass, the largest full-service glass company in the U.S. They've been an industry leader for over 145 years. For all your residential, commercial, or auto glass needs, Binswanger Glass is the name you need to know. 24-hour emergency service for all commercial customers, plus a nationwide warranty on all professionally installed glass. Visit Binswanger Glass in Midtown at 340 South Hollywood, across from the Liberty Bowl. Visit binswingerglass.com. Binswanger Glass.
Located corner of Park and Cherry is a beautiful residential neighborhood. I'm here at Town Village Audubon Park interviewing a new resident, Carolyn. Share with us why you chose Town Village.
Well, if your parents or special friends need to make that big move, let me share with you my experience. It was tough for me to leave home, but then I discovered Town Village. I would like to highly recommend Town Village to you and your loved ones. After looking at all the amenities and meeting all the people and staff, I was hooked. From restaurant, bistro, 3 meals per day, housekeeping, transportation, security, health care, physical therapy, exercise room, and even a heated pool and spa. Come see us and make your new home in Town Village.
Visit us and call Daniel at Town Village Audubon Park at 901-374-7342. There's no place like home, Town Village.
Welcome to the Rendezvous.
This is John Vergas. When my dad started the Rendezvous in 1948, I don't think anyone could have imagined we'd still be serving shoulder, cheese plates, and our world-famous dry rub ribs 75 years later. But we are still here in the basement, in an alley in downtown Memphis. We sincerely thank you for making the Rendezvous what it is today. Charlie Vergas Rendezvous, a legendary experience for over 75 years, whether you dine in, pick up, or ship across the country.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good morning. It's still moving right now on 385 Bill Morris Parkway coming inbound, getting on to 240 there, passing Ridgeway as traffic increases in the Midtown area just a bit more in the last few minutes. 240 north at Lamar as traffic also picks up 40 east there across Hernando to Soto Bridge coming over from West Memphis. Weimer's Jewelry serving the Memphis area now for what? Over 40 years? What does that tell you? No matter what the occasion is, go by and see them first. Shop local. You'll save a ton of money at Weimer's Jewelry on Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Now back to Sports 56 mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers.
Diamonds are forever. Woo!
Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
8:27 the time. Jerry Palm joins us in a moment. Busy third hour to Michael Cole on the Grizzlies at 9:05. Then we'll talk to Chris Boyson, the Senior Vice President of ALSAC. The Hoops for St. Jude Tip-Off Classic less than a week away. Parthu Pajai will be joining us for the Memphis Tiger talk as he'll become a weekly guest of ours here talking Tigers basketball. So lots to get to. Of course, each and every week we get to talk to JP.
It's time for Sports 56 Mornings Weekly Chat with Jerry Palm, college football and basketball writer and bracketologist for CBSSports.com. Here are Greg, Eli, and Jerry.
He is Jerry Palm, CBS Sports, CBSSports.com. You can follow him on Twitter at JPPalmCBS. Listen to him every Wednesday talking with us, both during the college football and college basketball seasons. JP, how are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
Great. I mean, what a great Saturday. It wasn't exactly separation Saturday. I think it was surprising Saturday because on paper, right, we didn't expect to have those type of games and those type of outcomes.
No, certainly not the Vanderbilt and Arkansas wins. Those were, you looked at the calendar and it's like, well, there's only one game between ranked teams, and that ended up being a dud. So you're wondering, where's the excitement going to come? Well, we got it. Vanderbilt beating Alabama, Arkansas beating Tennessee. That's two of the, I believe, top four last week. I think Tennessee was 4, right?
Yeah.
Going down. So that always shakes things up. It has less of an impact now that we have a 12-team playoff versus a 14 playoff. But still, it's now Alabama. Neither one of them actually, I think, control their own fate for the college football playoff. For the SEC title. They can still make the playoff, of course, but for the SEC championship is pretty much out of each of their hands at this point. And they play each other not this week, right?
Next week. So yes, one of those
third Saturday in October.
Yeah, one of those will have 2 losses after next week and be in a real bind as far as that is concerned. You still have Alabama in. You also have moved Texas A&M back into your playoff projection. I've always thought that if you make the SEC championship game or the Big Ten championship game, you're going to make the college football playoff. But if Texas A&M did run the table here until the last week of the regular season, and they lost to Texas, but then still made the championship game, lost to Texas again, would a 3-loss A&M team be able to get in?
Yes, and that if the third loss is in your conference championship game, the committee is pretty forgiving when it comes to losing in your championship game. Now, that's obviously, the winner of that game is an automatic for the playoff. But the committee has been pretty forgiving. So yes, they could still make it if that third loss comes in the conference championship game, and that would be true certainly for the Big Ten champion as well, or the runner-up, I guess. It might not be as true in the ACC or the Big 12. It would depend on who the team is and what the rest of their resume looked like before that championship game.
So Ole Miss, last week we talked about, obviously, that disappointing performance against Kentucky, the home loss. They bounced back. They played a really good defensive game at South Carolina, stymied the Gamecocks. If Ole Miss goes on a run the rest of the way, which would include an upset of Georgia, they'd have one loss. I would presume they would be in the SEC championship game, right?
Do they control their fate that way? Let me see.
Well, it would come down to tiebreakers. I don't know. You'd have them.
Well, let's see. There are 3 undefeated teams: A&M, LSU. They don't play A&M. They don't play Texas.
They play LSU
although those
this
two
week.
play each other.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would come down to tiebreak. It's the same as for Alabama. I mean, Alabama could end up in a tie for second with one loss, and then it depends on who you're tied with and how the tiebreakers sort out.
Okay, but let's say Ole Miss doesn't get to the SEC championship game, but they run the table, which would include a win over Georgia, one loss. They're in the playoffs, right?
I'd be shocked if a one-loss team from the Big Ten or the SEC got left out of the playoffs.
Yeah, I would agree.
And you're talking about a win over Georgia. I mean,
exactly.
If they're 10-2 and their best win is Oklahoma, LSU, probably LSU, then I'm not as confident. But 11-1, yeah, they'll be in somewhere.
The game this week, of course, there's a number of matchups of ranked teams this weekend as opposed to last weekend, but the one out in Eugene is the one I'm really interested in seeing. Right now, to me, Ohio State looks like the best team, but I want to see them go up against the high-powered Oregon offense that struggled earlier in the year and now looks to be finding their zone. That one is going to have all kinds of playoff implications. I mean, both teams could still certainly make it no matter who loses that game, but certainly that would only be one loss. But
they could rematch for the Big Ten title.
They could rematch. But I just want to know how good either one of those teams are, but especially Ohio State. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, we haven't really seen Ohio State really get tested yet. I mean, this is going to be the first time they're going to play a team that can compete with them. So it's going to be a little different. Like Oregon's game, even the Oregon game against Boise State, I mean, Boise State's a good team. I mean, that's a ranked team. They're not Ohio State by any stretch of the imagination, but that's a game where you can't just, roll it out there and hope and know that you're going to win. And Ohio State hasn't played a game like that yet. I actually kind of like Oregon. I think it would have to be a shootout. Oregon's defense is good. Don't get me wrong, but if this game is played in the 20s, I think that probably favors Ohio State. If they can get into a shootout, I think it can favor Oregon.
I mean, the thing like Ohio State really hasn't been. Penn State hasn't really been tested. So these SEC teams we thought were good but weren't playing anybody. They then have now taken losses like Ole Miss, Tennessee. Now these Big Ten schools we'll start seeing as they get a little bit stiffer test. Obviously, Ohio State's got a really stiff test, but even Penn State
at USC.
Yeah, at USC, we'll see what they're able to do.
Yeah, it's going to be like a Rose Bowl trip, for the Big Ten teams going out west. For those who occasionally go to the Rose Bowl. It's going to be that kind of, except for you don't have the full week of, build up while you're out there. You just go out there to more of a business trip. But yeah, those time zone trips or 2 or 3 time zone trips. For those 2, it's 3. That's going to be a test. And the former Pac-12 teams are getting that every time they leave home almost. So, the travel could be kind of an issue as the season goes on and it wears on some of these teams, but I don't think the travel's a problem for Ohio State this week.
What is the chance, by the way, Jerry Palm joining us on the Sissy's Log Cabin guest line, what is the chance, and let's just, look, anything can happen, but Boise State right now looks terrific. Genty looks great. Okay, let's say they run the table, right? Win the Mountain West title, they beat UNLV twice in the championship game, and it may be a different team they play, assuming that they get there, and then beat them during the regular season. They're undefeated. What is the chance that Boise State...
They wouldn't be undefeated. Boise's are
They
good.
lost
Oh,
to
that's
Oregon.
right. They got the one loss to Oregon. That's right. Okay, well, still, with the one loss to Oregon, because, again, if Oregon beats Ohio State, I mean, they're right up there in the top few. What is the chance that Boise State, one-loss Mountain West champion, can actually be ranked by the committee ahead of, let's say, the Big 12 champion?
I would say it doesn't matter if they're ranked ahead of the Big 12 champion, because the Big 12 champion gets a top 4 seed and they don't.
I didn't think it was automatic. I thought it
No,
was
if they're the top 4
They're
conference champions.
automatically in the playoff, but I see. It's the top 4 conference
Yes,
champions.
yes.
That's
Top
correct.
4 seed.
Yeah,
You're
and-
right. Top 4 conference champions. So then they would get a bye.
That's what I'm thinking, because, I mean, I don't think Iowa State's going to – Iowa State got a loss right now, or are they undefeated?
I think Iowa State has not lost yet.
Okay.
Iowa State, did they beat Iowa? They beat Iowa.
Yeah,
they
they
beat
did.
Yeah,
Iowa.
so, I mean, they probably have to lose 2, but I could easily see the Big 12 champion having 2 losses.
They actually have 5. There are 2 undefeated teams in the Big 12. BYU and Iowa State are both undefeated.
Do they play each other?
Good question. Let me find that out.
Okay, but my point is
They do not.
Okay. More than likely, a one-loss Big 12 champion is going to be ahead of a one-loss Mountain West champion in Boise State. But let's say they have 2 losses and Boise is ranked ahead, they're going to get a bye.
Yep, yes. That's. I don't know if the committee would actually do that.
Yeah,
It would
they
have
may not.
it would have to depend on which team wins the Big 12, the quality of their losses, and their schedule and stuff like that.
Yeah, they may not. but
Boise State's schedule is decent.
It's good
because
schedule.
the Mountain West is doing all right, but I don't think it's the Big 12. And they played Oregon, of course, and Oregon, great, and they played them tough.
Oregon, they played Oregon State, Washington State. No, Oregon State they played at the end of the year, right?
Yeah, I don't think that game has happened yet. Washington State
they
happened,
played.
and they drilled.
Oregon State, I think, is their last game of the year.
I guess basically I think it's the one rule that we just talked about as far as I think a lot of people are under the impression that the 4 power conferences, their champions are all getting the buys, but that they don't maybe understand that rule.
No, it's the top 4
It's
champions.
yes.
It's the top 4 conference
Okay.
champions.
All right. So there's that possibility.
When do they do the first rankings?
It's at the end of the month.
End of this month?
Yes.
Because it'll be interesting. When they come out with that, obviously there's still plenty to happen between now and then. But where they place a Boise State in their first ranking.
Oh yeah, and we're still 3 weeks away from that. But yeah, it's those first rankings are always instructive, I think. But there's still 4 or 5 to come after that. So and a lot can happen. But yeah, it gives you a good idea, at least of what they think of them, at that moment in time.
Because you can make an argument that the most impressive thing they've done is the loss to Oregon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
When you're talking about,
I thought the fact that they pounded Washington State pretty good is, I think that's a pretty decent team, and they laid waste to them. So I think that's pretty good too. But yeah, that Oregon game was an impressive performance. And Oregon, I don't know if the committee would think it through quite this way, but Oregon really hadn't figured stuff out yet. And it took them a few weeks to get their legs under them. And, you've got a lot of new pieces, but mostly your quarterback, which is a big deal. And it's been the last couple of weeks where Oregon's starting to look like the team we thought they would be. And now we get to find out again, this week, if that's really true.
Yeah, and obviously for Boise State, you're cheering like heck for Oregon this week. If Oregon has a win over Ohio State, then you're okay. And so,
if Oregon ends up the Big Ten champion, that works out very well for Boise State.
Yeah, and that's what that was the
Boise
point I was
State's
making.
margin for error is really, really small in terms of trying to be in the top 4. Like, they can't lose again.
Right.
And they need to look good. I mean, it's not just win games. It's win games that look like, a team that's better than one of these other conference champions as you're playing teams that may not be quite as good most of the time.
Well, they'll look pretty good when that running back goes for 250 every game or something like that.
They'll
look pretty good. Hey, do you believe Texas is the best team in the nation? I know they're number 1, and do you think Oklahoma in that rivalry gives them a run for their money this weekend?
Well, I've had Texas number 1 since they beat Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the Alabama-Georgia game. I still had in my own rankings had Texas number 1. So yes, I guess I think they're the best team. There's tests ahead for them where we will find out. That's a big rivalry game, and you never know what's going to happen in a rivalry game. Texas is better, but they've got a quarterback coming off an injury, going to start in this game. So we'll see how he's. If he's got some rust, he's got to shake off. That could help Oklahoma. But yes, Oklahoma can beat them just because it's Texas, Oklahoma, and Oklahoma's not a bad team. But Texas is the better team. They should be favored, and they should win.
You continue to have Miami as your ACC champion. Are you wavering at all on that with these miracle wins they got to keep coming up with?
Yeah, well, when they have a miracle loss, then maybe I'll waver.
Well, some would argue
Just win,
some would argue they should have 2 losses, but the rereferees helped them in both.
Yeah, I went to bed too early.
So did I.
Weekend. So I missed the 25-point comeback, and I'm not. I don't know what happened last week with the Virginia Tech game, but sometimes you get a favorable whistle, and it seems like Miami's gotten a couple.
Did you happen to see, I'm sure you did, and we talked about it on the show yesterday, the story from Dellinger about the group of investors and the ex-Disney executives who have met about a Super League?
I think there are a couple of those.
Yes.
Out there.
Yeah, the one really is far-fetched that has the 72 teams. This one, though, has the backing, reportedly, of people with deep pockets and a $9 billion infusion, according to Dellinger, to be a part of a 70-school football league called Project Rudy.
Yeah, I hate the name.
Rudy, I know. But, I mean, it doesn't look bad, and it has the financial backing, but it just doesn't appear, and Eli's made this point, that especially Sankey and maybe Petiti as well, they're on the same page. They're meeting, of course, in Nashville, that they don't care for a super conference when they feel that they could probably make that kind of money just breaking away themselves.
Yeah, I think it's more likely to happen on their own versus outside organizations. I can't imagine the SEC and the Big Ten giving up control to a group of investors. I could see them, trying to get money from investors, but I can't see them giving up control.
But if you have a
and in that one, these people, they're taking, while they're keeping the conferences, they're taking all of them under one umbrella when it comes to a TV contract. So there's no longer the advantage for the SEC and the Big Ten, that's what they're not going to give up.
I would guess that whatever the SEC and the Big Ten come up with is going to be the same way. It'll be one TV deal for the whole thing.
Yeah, and they're talking this super conference, talking about different tiers and all that. What was the money? $125 million is what we heard, like, per year. Well, if the SEC and the Big Ten can come together and make that type of money, they're going to do it. So I guess my question is that it's going to happen, right?
Something is definitely going to happen.
Yes.
Something is going to happen.
Right. Because you
There's
could take
just a lot of
125.
right now.
Yeah, you could take $125 million a year in this, again, offer that they're talking about. Again, nothing etched in stone, but all that money that would be infused, those billions that would be infused. Again, it reminds me of what PIF's doing with the Live, taking away all those players from the PGA Tour. So either that, or if not, if you say no to that, and you think you can make as much money separating yourselves from everybody else, then you do that. You don't stay status quo. That would make no sense.
Yeah. Nothing's going to happen until at least, I think, 2031. So they've got a while to sort stuff out, what they're going to do. But it's, I'm in favor of having as many teams in this as they can.
Me too.
And I've heard some talk about a relegation concept, and I really don't like the idea of relegation in college sports. It's the teams that ultimately get relegated are probably never going to be the same. Even if they get back up, they're just never going to be.
Yeah, but they're not talking about it's not like they're relegating to the
but
group of five.
I've heard that idea kicked around.
Right, but they're talking from tier to tier.
Not in these concepts, not in these proposals, but I've heard that idea kicked around.
Yeah.
That there should be relegation.
But Eli, this one had it too, right? Didn't they say from tier to tier?
Amongst the tiers,
amongst
but
the tiers,
you're not getting knocked
relegated.
out of the 70.
Right. You're not going to all of a sudden, and it's not like the FBS remaining teams, the group of 5 schools or whoever, are going to welcome you with open arms. I'm like, you left. So it's relegation from tier to tier, meaning the highest paid ones are tier 1, then you drop to tier 2 or you drop to tier 3. But anyway, you're right. It's down the road. But here's the thing. I wish they can get this all straightened out now. I know they can't. We got a new contract that has to be signed for the playoff starting in after the 20.
Yep, after next year.
Yeah, after 25. So for the 2060s, I wish they can get it all straightened out. I know they won't. There's always going to be changeover and turnover.
Too many. It's too big a project to put together that quickly.
I understand that, but I just hate that there's always change. We can't go through a year where there's not some sort of change, whether it's teams changing conferences imploding, whether it's something to do with the NIL land. Now we're talking about revenue sharing, which is probably going to come into effect later this summer, then super conferences. It's always something. It keeps us on our toes, though, Jerry. It keeps us
yes, it does.
On our toes.
I'm not sure all of these changes are really for the better.
Well, that's true. Check out Jerry, his bowl projections, his playoff projections at CBSSports.com. Follow him on Twitter at JPPalmCBS. Listen to him every single Wednesday talking with us right here on Sports 56 Mornings. Have a great week, JP. We'll talk to you next Wednesday.
All right, thanks.
Take care.
The whole relegation. Unless it is, I mean, I don't see any way that any of that's ever coming into college football of any sort.
Even from a tier to tier thing?
Yeah, I just don't think that's going to ever be again, I don't know how you decide it, and I don't think you're going to get teams to agree to that.
Yeah, maybe not.
Vanderbilt beat Alabama last year, so now they get to move up.
Right.
I don't know. What does it take? I just don't think that's going to happen. Fleet Feet. I'll tell you what's going to happen at Fleet Feet. You go see them. They'll take good care of you to make sure you get proper shoes, perfect for you, based on the way you run or the way you walk. They'll take a look at the mechanics, kind of the way you run, the way you walk, where you put the weight of the different parts of the foot, the pressure, and they'll find shoes that are just right for you because all the shoes are a little bit different. Everybody's a little different in the way they run and walk. And they'll match you up with the shoes that are perfect for you to make sure you avoid injuries or any other problems when you're out there running or walking or just on a daily basis when you're on your feet a lot. Having those shoes that are just right for you is a big, big help. Plus, all your other gear, they've got you taken care of. Won't be too long now. We'll be starting to think about the marathon here in Memphis, and a lot of folks will be running that. A lot of folks, you need to start training. Maybe it's the first time you're going to run it. You want to get a little advice on maybe how to train for something like that. Well, go talk to the folks at Fleet Feet. They're all runners. They can give you advice. They can help you come up with a plan to train for that. Fleet Feet has 2 locations, Laurelwood Shopping Center in East Memphis and out in Collierville, Poplar, and Houston Levy next door to Huey's. They are Fleet Feet.
You're tuned in to Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
You're a contractor and you need concrete coating and supplies in Memphis fast, and you get this answer? I think we can order that stuff, but you're going to have to wait a few days for delivery. Why wait? Get your concrete coatings and supplies now at TSS Supply, where everything you need is in stock. If you're working in the tri-state Tennessee, Arkansas, Mississippi area, everything you need for concrete coating is at TSS Supply, 5665 East Rains Road, Memphis. TSS Supply specializes only in concrete coatings and supplies all in one place. If you're looking for a particular item, need large quantities, or just have general questions, call 901-729-0565, 729-0565, or you can email your question to Brad at tsssupply.com. The friendly, knowledgeable folks at TSS Supply have over 150 years combined experience in concrete coatings, materials, and supplies. Contractors, are you in town for a job or getting ready to do a job for a customer during their holiday shutdown? Then you should visit TSS Supply for your concrete coatings and supplies. Why wait for materials when TSS Supply has everything you need in stock and they can get it to you today or within 24 hours? TSS Supply, 5665 East Rains Road.
Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Stahl, board-certified urologist and senior vice president of men's sexual health at HIMSS. I've helped many guys with ED in my 12 years of practice. But now you can get world-class care for ED 100% online by going to HIMSS.com. So what are you waiting for?
To start your free online visit and find ED treatment at up to 95% off brand name prices, go to hims.com/joy.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Wash your house, wash your office building? Impossible! Not if you call Wilson's Pro Wash. Your house, fence, driveway, warehouse, store, hotel, even cars and trucks can all be squeaky clean and beautiful after pressure washing by Wilson's Pro Wash. Wilson's specializes in cleaning all hard surfaces, concrete, stone, brick, and mortar, even wood and vinyl siding. Then Wilson's can seal their surfaces so they stay looking brand new. Call Wilson's Pro Wash, 901-524-6799, or online at wilsonsprowash.com.
Hi, I'm Chandler Martin, linebacker from the University of Memphis Football. Southern Security, your home team credit union, voted best credit union in the Mid-South 6 consecutive years. Southern Security offers the latest in technology with our personal teller machines. Our PTMs allow you to speak in real time with a Southern Security team member through two-way live video. The experience and service you trust and know, delivered at your convenience. To locate a PTM near you, visit us online at southernsecurity.org or call 901-452-7900. Southern Security is a proud supporter of University of Memphis Athletics, federally insured by the NCUA.
Now back to Sports 56 Mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers.
Don't you just love it?
Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, everyone. 8:51 is the time. Man, I peeked into the studio adjacent to us where our producer, Elijah's working all the dials and the buttons and all that stuff. And I thought it was Dacus for a second. Like, I looked real quick. I thought it was Brian. I don't know why I thought it was Brian Dacus. I guess all the hats you wear, the different teams, and the pullovers and things of that nature. Here's a new one. I know that Dacus is a big Seattle Kraken fan. Do you know there's a new NHL team? The NHL season is underway.
They won last night.
See, you know your hockey. Now, they're not a new. They're just a relocated. They went from Phoenix.
Well, they are new.
But they're the Phoenix team.
But they're a new franchise.
The Utah Hockey Club.
Yes, creative name.
Are they going to have a nickname eventually?
Yes, next year.
What? Was it like too complicated to
I don't know.
figure out a nickname?
I'm not sure why they couldn't come up with one for this year. I did not realize until last night when I saw that they were being called the Utah Hockey Club. That they were being called the Utah Hockey Club. I assumed they had a nickname, but then they're working on that. It's a work in progress. They're gonna figure something out for next year.
Well, remember how bad it was when it was the Washington football team for the Redskins, now the Commanders. The Commanders not exactly great, but better than the Washington football team. I don't know why though. The Utah Hockey Club. This seems pretty cool. The Utah Hockey Club. And they get a win in their first game ever in Salt Lake City. Beautiful Salt Lake City. A 5-2 win over the Chicago Blackhawks. I like the story that NHL reporter Ryan Clark wrote. The first game, the first goal, the first fight. Moments that you will remember forever. The Utah Hockey Club.
It's gonna be a tough night for the Blackhawks. Lose to the team in their first game ever.
Right. I know.
But yeah, the Coyotes were split into two. Utah got all of their players and coaches, but all the Coyotes franchise stuff stayed. Thought was they were eventually going to revive, but that's not going to happen.
So they have it just in case down the road that could happen?
Well, they tried to get a new stadium arena, and that failed. And so the owner who kept all that stuff has, I believe, given up totally. He's not. It's not going to happen.
See, hockey,
but he's still it's through. I think 2029, if I remember reading it correctly. As of 2029, they will go away, disappear forever.
Okay, but
Coyotes will fail to exist.
Hockey is a weird thing because
Roadrunner will have his advantage. He'll have his win.
And now I'm trying to remember this off the top of my head. Wasn't like back in the day there was when the WHA merged, I guess, the Winnipeg Jets became a member of the National Hockey League. And then the Winnipeg Jets, did they not move? They may have became the Arizona Coyotes. But then Winnipeg got a team back, the Winnipeg Jets. Like, again, Atlanta lost the team, the Flames, and went to Calgary, and then they later got the Thrashers, different team, different franchise. But the Winnipeg Jets became the Winnipeg Jets again. Not the same ownership, but just hockey. Look at the history of hockey
Well, the Cleveland Browns
organizations.
did that too.
Who?
Cleveland Browns.
Right.
It's not
Right.
just a hockey thing.
No, but I'm saying hockey has got a lot of that. I mean, it's really complicated if you look at the history of some of these organizations and where they, Colorado, if I'm not mistaken, started in New Jersey as the Scouts, and then they came back, of course, now as the New Jersey Devils. Just wild stuff. Robert Saleh, we were talking about this earlier, and of course, yesterday the news broke on our show that he had been fired by the New York Jets 5 games into the season, 1 game out of first place. Oh, by the way, the Jets play the Bills this week.
They're in prime time the next 2 weeks.
Well, today, Rodgers will meet with his weekly segment with Pat what's his name? McAfee.
Your boy.
Love the show. Went brain dead for a second there. But anyway, Saleh did release a statement yesterday. This is the first I'm seeing of this statement. This is after 3+ years at the helm running the Jets. To the Jets organization, I am grateful to have had the opportunity to work with so many incredible people. I will always be appreciative of the love and support from everyone at One Jets Drive. To all of the players, I truly love and appreciate every single one of you. The character of the men in the locker room made coaching you guys the ultimate privilege. Through all the ups and downs, each and every one of you showed up every day and attacked every moment. To my fellow coaches and staff, it has been an honor to work with all of you. Every one of you were all in and made sacrifices for one another that will never be forgotten. I wish you all the very best of luck for the remainder of the season. To the most passionate fan base in the NFL, thank you for embracing my family. It has been a pleasure calling New York our home. We will forever appreciate all of the memories that we created here with love and regard. Robert Saleh. No mention, I don't believe, did I say anything about ownership and Woody Johnson? Nope. No membership of Woody Johnson. Of course, Woody Johnson insists it was his decision alone. But everybody and their mother believes it was Rodgers who ultimately got him fired. So that's why I can't wait to hear him on McAfee telling us or not telling us about this situation. It'll be interesting to see if he says anything of use for us, any pertinent information about what went down, or I'm sure he'll take the high road.
Aaron Rodgers never takes blame for anything, so there's no chance of him saying something of any importance whatsoever.
Right. Folks, take your basketball skills to the next level.
Probably dodge the question with answers about aliens or vaccines.
Black holes and things of that nature. Man-made hurricanes like Hurricane Milton. Take your basketball skills to the next level at Shoot 360 Memphis. Shoot 360 is a revolutionary basketball training facility that combines cutting-edge technology with gamification, provides instant objective feedback with hands-on, one-on-one expert coaching. So you get the best of both worlds. You get all the modern analytics and the technology of modern-day basketball and expert coaching. They now have the Cordova location open, a newly renovated 50,000-square-foot facility, 2 NBA regulation-sized courts, 3 high school-sized courts, 4 shooting bays with Shoot 360 technology. This place is incredible. I've been there now a couple of times. And, again, if you're a basketball player or know of a basketball player that's in your family that wants to become a better player, then certainly Shoot 360 is for them. Memberships are now on a monthly basis. And, yes, you can become a member at both their locations, Collierville being the original. You can call them in Cordova at 901-779-3176 or Collierville, 901-316-5500. Set up a tour at either of their facilities and see what they're all about. And then you can go online. You can sign up as well. And, again, monthly membership now available. Shoot 360 Memphis to sign up. The future of basketball training is here. Shoot 360 Memphis. When we come back, we open up Hour 3 talking Grizzlies with DeMichael Cole from the Commercial Appeal. You're tuned into Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. everything. A tremendous selection of diamonds and jewels, gold, silver, and much more. Lots of watches, tons of custom-made jewelry, fine gemstones, bracelets, necklaces, so many choices. Romantics will love the one-of-a-kind estate and vintage jewelry. James Gaddis has experts to help you with wedding and engagement rings, plus 2 repair experts for fine watches and jewelry. Layaway and financing available. James Gaddis Jewelers at 4900 Poplar.
Rick's Powder Coating for a beautiful finish every time. Rick's Powder Coating specializes in automotive, ornamental, residential, and industrial coating. With 2 conveyor lines and the largest batch ovens in the Mid-South, Rick's can accommodate all of your powder coating needs. Locally owned and operated since 2002, Rick's Powder Coating will customize a beautiful finish just for you. Drop by or call to see how Rick's Powder Coating can bring color to your life. 901-367-2771 or rickspowdercoating.com.
Family Leisure is having the world's biggest spa setting. It's happening right now. You can save thousands on in-stock hot tubs that are ready to be delivered. Family Leisure has spas that start at just $28.99. You know those cold plunges? You can get one for yourself starting at $39.99. Or how about swim spas? They start at $17,499. Plus, Family Leisure has set up special financing just for this event. Have you been sitting on the fence about an above-ground pool? Get off that fence and get to Family Leisure to take advantage of huge discounts on all their in-stock above-ground pools. And if you need some patio furniture, it's all priced to move out now. It's not too late to have some summer fun, courtesy of Family Leisure. But you better hurry up. The world's biggest spa sale might go on forever. Family Leisure. Witten Road at I-40. Family and fun come together.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good morning. Finishing up a couple of minor wrecks out here. It still looks pretty good right now up to South Haven on 55 coming northbound as you work your way up from the south there out of DeSoto County into South Haven here all the way up to State Line Road. It's been quiet so far on 51 southbound out of Millington. A little bit of traffic volume at times on Austin B Highway southbound getting up on that ramp there to I-40. Hey, Weimer's Jewelry 7525 Highway 64 is your full service family owned jewelry store right here in Memphis. Go by and see them today. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis with John Harden. Weekdays from 11 to 1.
Rolling right along on a Wednesday morning. Happy Hump Day. Hour 3 here on Sports 56 Mornings. Greg, Eli, and Elijah from the Family Leisure Studios. Family Leisure, where family and fun come together. 2120 Witten Road, just north of I-40. The world's biggest spa sale continues. 59 degrees currently, but it'll get up to 81 today, sunshine. And then tonight, clear skies with an overnight low. 53. Your Thursday looks to be very nice as well. Temperatures creeping up to about 83 with sunshine once again in the forecast. We'll talk with DeMichael Cole in just a moment. Talk some Grizzlies later on in the hour. We'll be joined by Chris Boyson, the Senior Vice President of ALSAC. We'll talk about the Hoops for St. Jude Tip-Off Classic, which is 6 days from now, a week from yesterday, the doubleheader at FedEx Forum to raise money for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Parth Upadhyay will join us as well to talk Memphis Tigers basketball as we begin a weekly segment with Parth Upadhyay. Tomorrow, by the way, on the show, mentioned earlier, Ryan Silverfield joins us at 8:05 while the Tiger Football Report. Ken Wisenhunt will join us in studio, the new head coach of the Memphis Showboats. That'll be at 7:30. And then from 9 to 10, it's the AutoZone Liberty Bowl Inside College Football Hour with Harold Grader. So plenty of pigskin on your Thursday edition. But right now, time to talk some round ball with DeMichael Cole.
It's time to talk some Grizzlies basketball. Joining Greg and Eli is DeMichael Cole, Grizzlies beat writer for the Commercial Appeal. Here's DeMichael with Greg and Eli.
He is DeMichael Cole, Grizzlies beat writer for the Commercial Appeal. You can follow him on Twitter at DeMichaelC. He joins us each and every Wednesday all year long to talk Grizzlies in the NBA. Hey, DeMichael.
What's going on? How we doing?
Doing fine. Have you heard, I know it doesn't look to be anything serious, but have you heard anything about the imaging that was going to take place for Ja?
No, I think we'll know more, on that front a little bit later today. But yeah, like you said, definitely doesn't appear to be anything serious.
Do you expect that he'll be on ice the rest of the 4 game, or how many more games he got left? 4.
No, I don't. No, he more than likely will play again.
Oh, okay. Do you think he'll play tomorrow in the home game? Probably not, right?
That will be determined by the imaging probably. But I will say I think if tomorrow was a regular season game, he would play.
Okay, fair enough.
You think they'll play him more in the preseason just because they trying to get those guys on the court together as much as possible?
I think that is weighed in, but not a big part of the deal. I think that is something that, they definitely want to see, like Jaren. I think there is a hope to get him out there towards the back end or towards the end of the preseason just to, see a game with Jaren, with playing alongside Zachy and all that. But at the same time, it's an 82-game regular season. So you're not trying to just jump out of the gates 20-0 by your preseason play. Historically, even when the Grizzlies won 50-plus games in those 2 seasons, they relatively got off to a slow start. So I don't think there's some, huge sense of urgency to have this thing right by the end of October.
DeMichael Cole joining us on the Sissy's Log Cabin guest line. All right, so Monday night, preseason game number 1, dress rehearsal number 1, the new offense being instituted. What did you see? What did you come out of it thinking about the offense?
There was positives and negatives. With the positives, I think the fact that, you got to start here. The number one thing was it looks different. Last year, we heard a little bit about some new offensive philosophies, and then when the ball was tipped off, it was like, I'm not really seeing too much that's different. Maybe it's some little technical stuff, but I don't see much different. But this season, it looks different. Now, how it looks different is, for one, the ball is moving not just around the perimeter. It's not just guys stagnant off the ball, but guys are relocating after they pass the ball. They're they're going up to different spots, and that puts the defense in the bind from the standpoint of you can't just ball watch a guy like Ja Morant, right? Which we saw in the playoffs. Teams would kind of build these walls. The Timberwolves did it, the Warriors did it, and the Lakers did it, which would kind of limit Ja Morant's ability to just dominate by scoring in the paint. He would have to have these super acrobatic finishes around 2 and 3 guys a lot of times when he scored in the paint in those series. But if you have guys off the ball who are constantly moving, you present a different threat. So that's the positive. A couple of negatives stand out to me, too. One is easily correctable. They're playing at this super fast pace of play right now, and this pace, the thing about it is, it looked kind of out of control at times in the first game. So you kind of want to, get better control of that. There were a lot of turnovers and things like that. But I feel like that's just we're getting used to this new style of play. And then the other thing, which I think they definitely will get fixed over the course of time, is you got to find a happy medium with this idea of, yes, you want more ball movement. But at the end of the day, basketball, I always say, the game is very simple. You can't overthink it. It's the same way with football and really in sports. Sometimes we try to overthink things, whether it's analytically, schematically, whatever the case may be. In the simplest form, I know, and everybody knows, the Grizzlies are a better team when the ball is in Ja Morant's hands.
Yes.
It's simple. It's that simple. The Grizzlies are a better team when Ja Morant has the basketball and he's making plays for himself and his teammates. But I love the idea of getting everyone involved because you don't want all the attention on Ja Morant to the point where in those playoff series that I just mentioned, there were 3 and 4 eyes on him a lot of times, and that made his job much more difficult. So now you have to find this happy medium. You have to get this point where, okay, yes, we want the ball out of Ja's hands a little bit more, get him more involved off the ball because that's going to draw attention to defenses. Kind of, I'll use the Warriors as the example here. We know the Warriors thrive with having Steph Curry off the ball and causing a lot of attention that way. But at the end of the day, there were a lot of times in a lot of situations where, hey, it's simple, just run high pick and roll with Steph and Curry and switch it up. So I think that's where the Grizzlies they got to find that medium, and they will over time. Where sometimes it's simple, just put the ball in Ja's hands. He's going to make the best play for you. Right now, you're seeing a lot of guys with their hand, in the cookie jar. A lot of guys are getting to running offense. Marcus Smart, Desmond Bain, I think Luke Kennard and John Conchar had some moments in this last game as well as Scottie Pippen Jr. But I would like to see, at some point you find that medium, and that takes time to figure out.
What were your impressions of Zach Edey and his first preseason action?
It was solid. I want to see more over the course of time. I think the number one thing is he held his own. I talked about that pace. I think he is very well conditioned, and Taylor Jenkins and others have talked about the fact that he is well conditioned. But they were playing so fast at times. Like, I saw myself on the TV screen like, wait up, like, wait for the big fella. Like, geez. Like, it's like they're just, we don't care if you get back or not. Just boom, boom, boom. But that is something that'll, again, come in time. But I think Zach Edey looks fine. I think the one big thing that's probably going to be problematic to some people is the idea of the Grizzlies giving him post touches. And we'll see how that rounds into shape over the course of time. But I don't think it will be a big proponent of this offense to throw the ball inside and let Zach Edey work for 3 seconds. That was kind of the thing with Kenneth Lawson Jr., right?
Right.
We knew that was one of the best parts of his game, letting him go into low post and work. And I remember talking to him about it and just talking to Grizzlies assistant coaches about it. And that wasn't the Grizzlies' philosophy. It wasn't. They didn't want him playing like Zach Randolph, even though people kind of use that comparison. That was the old Grizzlies. That wasn't the team that Kenneth Lawson Jr. played on. So when you put that into perspective, Zach Edey's going to get his touches, I'm sure, against mismatches and whatnot. But it's not going to be Purdue. It's not going to be, hey, he has to touch the ball every single possession. We saw several possessions where he was just a screener and the ball didn't touch his hand. So it's a different role, and it's going to be kind of a controlled role. But I want to see, what he looks like on the floor with Jaren. I think that's going to be a big part of it. There were a lot of times he was isolated on the perimeter, and I think there were 2 times that he ended up fouling guys. One was from behind for sure on Najee Marshall with the and one. But there were 2 times I think he got fouled in those situations. He held his own decently early in the game against Spencer Dinwiddie. But look, like, at the end of the day, again, you can't overthink basketball. The idea that a 7'4", 290-pound guy is going to just be able to hold his own one-on-one against some of the shiftier athletes in the world is not really ideal. But as I've talked to other people about, that's why basketball is a team sport. That's why you have help defenders. And at the end of the day, when Jaren Jackson Jr. is on the floor, you will have the help defender. You will have the ultimate Grizzlies help defender there to kind of make Zach Edey's job easier. I think in those situations, if you say, hey, what is Zach Edey supposed to do when he's on the perimeter with those guys? If Zach Edey allows a guy to drive, like not allows, but, makes a guy make the decision that I can't shoot over him, I need to drive to the basket, and Zach Edey kind of keeps himself in the play, and you have Jaren Jackson Jr. coming over as a help defender, I think that's the win. I think the loss is where, and we saw it a couple times, but again, the Mavs played their backup guard, so I didn't really take too much from it. But we saw it a couple times where guys, looked a little shifty, and they created space for jumpers against Edey. And when that's Kyrie Irving, when that's Luka, when that's, even like Chris Paul in the mid-range, when it's those type of guys, I don't want to really see that if I'm the Grizzlies. I want to say, hey, Zach, make him put the ball on the floor and trust what's behind you, because you'll have Jaren Jackson Jr. behind you. And even John Morant is a good weak side, shot blocker. So you'll have some guys who can kind of go impact the play at the rim.
Yeah, that's the optimistic point of view, but I think it's something that I believe in as well, and I think that he'll fit in nicely. The doubters certainly think that even though he's a really well-conditioned big man who can move pretty well, that he's not fleet of feet, and that's going to hurt him. The other thing is that you mentioned you kind of went through that foul thing a little quick. Here, look, this isn't Purdue. He never got called for fouls at Purdue. He got 5 fouls in this game in the limited amount of minutes he played. I think that could be an issue.
It could be. It could be. Again, this is one game, so I'm kind of just taking everything, trends. When we get bigger sample sizes and trends, we'll have a better idea. But some of those fouls, I think, was kind of contributed to the other end, where we're talking about the pace of play, right? The easiest time for players to commit fouls is when they're a little bit tired and they get a little bit lazy. And there were a couple times, I think that was the case. He had a couple of aggressive fouls too, which I'm okay with, because he has to learn how much NBA referees will let him play. Like, he was battling Daniel Gafford for position on one of the fouls, and he just chunked them out of the way. And some of that they'll let you get away with, and then some is like, okay, that's over the line. So he has to learn that. That's going to take time. That's the experience thing. You learn what you can get away with, that veteran savviness and whatnot. But it is notable. But I think in terms of defensively what he offers, I'm going to kind of just cautiously watch it until we see him on the floor a little bit more with Jaren Jackson Jr. I think if you're saying he's going to spend a lot of time on the floor with Santi, then the fouling is definitely a bigger problem. But again, he's talked more than anybody about how the spacing, like you just said, this isn't college anymore. The spacing is different, and he's learning to play with it and stuff like that. And I think on the defensive end is where it hurts him a little bit more. Offensive end, he can take advantage of it a little bit better. On the defensive end, like you said, like I said, at the end of the day, simple. He's 7'4", 290. You're not going to see 7'4", 290 guys,
right?
Being able to put, the clamps on these. These guards are different these days. Their footwork is out of the world, so it's just not realistic. But at the end of the day, you just want him to stay in the picture. And as long as he's staying in the picture, you want to be able to trust the help defense behind you. Right now, in that last game, I don't know if he could trust the help defense. That's why he had a couple of those fouls from behind, where he's trying to chase him down, and then boom, he fouls him and things like that. So I think it's an incomplete picture right now.
Sure. Without
Jaren Jackson Jr. in there, but I don't think you're out of pocket by any means to say, hey, 5 fouls in first game, 18 minutes. That's definitely something to raise a little bit of an eyebrow to.
One of the stars of this first preseason game was Brandon Clark, and all of these things you talk about. I mean, with this offense playing at that pace, it certainly. I mean, this should be perfect for Brandon Clark.
It is. It is. Brandon Clark is almost like the opposite of some of the things we just said with Edey. He's smaller, 6'7", 6'8", and he's super mobile. So he gets from end to end really quick. And talked to Brandon Clark when we were in Nashville, about this idea that he's still going to be dunking the basketball, and whatnot, but the floater and some of the short roll is going to be a huge part of his game when it comes to the idea of just properly taking care of his body over the course of a season and things like that. That's something he learned after that injury, the Achilles injury. So what we saw in that game was a lot of those floaters from Brandon Clark. There were a couple layups where he got fouled, I think, or you want to see him convert those. John Morant put the ball on the money. And you want to see him convert those more around the basket. But in terms of the offensive impact, it's still there. This is a guy who has averaged double figures in every season of his NBA career in limited minutes, and it still seems like that's going to be the case this season.
All right, we got less than a minute, but I want you to certainly plug your story on Yuki. I don't know. I guess he's the latest Japanese basketball player to come through Memphis, and I know there'll be a lot of media here covering him. Do you believe? Well, first of all, will he be with the Hustle? Are they going to give him an Exhibit 10 or something like that? What's his situation?
My thinking based on the conversations I've had is he will end up, if he wants to. At the end of the day, it's going to be his decision, because what you'll see towards the end of camp is those guys at the end of the roster like Yugi, Armando Bacot, Mie, and Mal, those guys will probably be waived. And once they're waived from the Grizzlies roster, they will then be designated to go play with the Memphis Hustle.
Okay.
But Yugi for sure. That's kind of what I've been told. I definitely heard some rumblings. I don't know how valid this is, so I don't want to put too much to it yet. But there's like sort of the thinking that, if he doesn't, get a bigger chance with the Grizzlies, he can go back to Japan. And I mean, he's a star over there.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that is an option as well. But from what I've been told, it sounds like, we're going to see a lot of Yugi Kalmura around here in the hustle with the Hustle in South Haven.
We'll read DeMichael's story about Yuki on the Commercial Appeal website, or get a subscription, even better, to the Commercial Appeal to make sure you don't miss any of DeMichael's stories. Follow him on Twitter at DeMichaelC, and listen to him each and every Wednesday talking with us right here on Sports 56 Mornings. Thanks, DeMichael. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care, guys.
You too. Jenkins Floors and More, third-hour sponsor of Sports 56 Mornings, located at 2356 Goodman Road in Horn Lake. They also have stores in Cleveland, Mississippi, and in Little Rock. They specialize in flooring and carpeting, a family-owned and operated local business with ceramic and porcelain tiles, all types, different styles, colors, granite, porcelain, and much, much more. Hardwoods by Portercraft, carpeting from Southern Luxury Carpet, backsplashes for your kitchens and bathrooms. They sell it wholesale. Skip the middleman, going to save you lots of money in the process. Timmy and Rebecca Jenkins, the owners of Jenkins Floors and More, started this business about 8 years ago in their garage. And because of their quality of work, their attention to detail, and their pricing, they've earned their reputation of being one of the top flooring companies in the area. So for both residential, commercial, if you're a homeowner, do-it-yourself person, if you're a contractor, or if you want Jenkins to do it for you, this is the place for you, right? You're going to save money. You're going to get a great product. Jenkins has a 2-week turnaround. If you go with Jenkins, they'll have the job done in 2 weeks. They'll come to you, and they will give you a free estimate no matter where you are. So give them a call at 662-469-9350. Tell them you heard it here on Sports 56 Mornings. They're open Monday through Saturday. Or visit them at their big showroom, 2356 Goodman Road in Horn Lake. It's Jenkins Floors and More. When we come back, Chris Boyson, the Senior Vice President of ALSAC, and Parthu Pajai going to join us. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Hi, friends. Bill Russell at Russell Brothers Fine Jewelers. And for 39 years, we've been the personal jewelers for thousands of Memphians and Mid-Southerners. For a very long time, we've been offering the finest and beautiful jewelry to help our customers celebrate those very special occasions and let their loved ones know just how treasured they are. Diamonds and the finest gemstones are our specialty. Set in whatever she wants, a ring or a pendant, a pair of earrings or a bracelet. We search the world's jewelry markets looking for pieces that are not only exquisite and beautiful, but also unique and eye-catching. We can help you make her smile in a way that neither one of you will ever forget. Come see us at Russell Brothers. Let us put our many years of experience to work for you. Let us help you say I love you in the best way you can imagine. 5 decades providing beauty, value, quality, and service. Russell Brothers Fine Jewelers, 4646 Power at Perkins.
If you need glass replaced, there's only one name you need to know. Binswanger Glass, the largest full-service glass company in the U.S. They've been an industry leader for over 145 years. For all your residential, commercial, or auto glass needs, Binswanger Glass is the name you need to know. 24-hour emergency service for all commercial customers, plus a nationwide warranty on all professionally installed glass. Visit Binswanger Glass in Midtown at 340 South Hollywood, across from the Liberty Bowl. Visit binswangerglass.com. Binswanger Glass. Wash your house, wash your office building? Impossible! Not if you call Wilson's Pro Wash. Your house, fence, driveway, warehouse, store, hotel, even cars and trucks can all be squeaky clean and beautiful after pressure washing by Wilson's Pro Wash. Wilson's specializes in cleaning all hard surfaces, concrete, stone, brick, and mortar, even wood and vinyl siding. Then, Wilson's can seal their surfaces so they stay looking brand new. Call Wilson's Pro Wash, 91524-6799, or online at wilsonsprowash.com. Don't
Don't do it.
Don't do what?
Don't do another Halloween spot for Central Barbecue.
But it's October. Doing a Halloween spot for Central Barbecue is a tradition.
But it doesn't make it a good thing.
Nothing else happens in October.
Baseball?
Not if you're a Cardinals fan. What else you got?
National Candy Corn Day.
No Central Barbecue connection.
Fair point. How about Make a Difference Day?
That's to encourage people to do something constructive for the world.
And going to Central Barbecue isn't?
I'm telling you, it's got to be Halloween.
There's no other choice, I guess.
Hey, Zeke.
Yeah.
This year, give the kiddies ribs on Halloween. They love that.
Seriously, next year, something new.
Now back to Sports 56 Mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour brought to you by Jenkins Floors and More. Here once again are Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, everyone. 9:25 the time. Hour 3 here on Sports 56 Mornings. Greg Gaston, Eli Savoy, joined in studio now by our good friend Parth Upadhyay from the Daily Memphian, as he will begin a weekly segment here on the program each and every Wednesday at 8:25. Now, today, we'll talk specifically, or 9:25, we'll talk specifically with you at 9:45 about the Tigers. But right now, we want to talk specifically about an event that's coming up that we have talked about now for weeks. And it's coming up a week from yesterday, so 6 days for the Hoops for St. Jude Tip-Off Classic, where Memphis and North Carolina for the men and Memphis and South Carolina for the women will play in 2 exhibition games, back-to-back games, on the 15th at FedEx Forum with the St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, which is near and dear to all of us, the beneficiary, all the money, all the proceeds going to this great event. And we are very pleased to be joined once again by our friend Chris Boyson, the Senior Vice President of ALSAC and a University of Memphis graduate who joins us now on the program. Chris, how are you today?
Doing fantastic, guys. How are you? Thanks for having me on again.
It's great to have you on. Look, we're closing in on this game, or games, I should say. And I know when the announcement was made and we had you on, it is such a great event that will hopefully become an annual event. We'll talk more about that in a second. But we got to fill that place up. There needs to be as many people as we can get into that arena because, as I just mentioned, everything, all the proceeds go to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital.
You know, yeah, as you were talking there, I heard you say North Carolina playing the Memphis Tigers, South Carolina women playing our Lady Tigers. Did you ever think that would be said in the same sentence about the same night? I mean, so there's a tremendous level of excitement here. You know, we're sitting at about 5,000 tickets. You know, the FedEx Forum people, they warned us. They're like, "Hey, Memphis is a walk-up town, so get ready for that." And look, we remain excited. We're thrilled to be able to do this for the city. We're thrilled to be able to do it, you know, for the patients and families at St. Jude Children's Research Hospital that need this, that need this event to be successful. You know, it's events like this that help ensure that foundational promise stays true, that no family ever receives a bill for treatment, travel, housing, or food, because we want our parents to worry only about their kids. And it's things like this that give that hope and that power to our patient families.
For folks, again, how can people get tickets right now?
Ticketmaster.com. You can go to the box office and get tickets. There's a link on our St. Jude website. You can any number of ways. There's a lot of opportunity there, and obviously there's still some good seats available. But I think we're feeling the energy pick up a little bit, and as we expected, and like you said, 6 days away, it's time to go.
Now, I don't know if you would want to do this, Chris, if Rick was on, if he would do it, but I'm going to do it. Even though we can't tell people what to do with their money and their entertainment dollars, and they can do whatever the heck they want to do with it. But like you said, to have an event, to get North Carolina, it's almost impossible. And Penny, I'm sure, has reached out many times, and Cal reached out many times to North Carolina to get the Tar Heels to come to FedEx Forum. It just didn't happen. And now you get to see the Tar Heels. You get to see the number one team, the defending champions in women's basketball as well. 2 games for the price of 1. But again, the beneficiary being St. Jude. You have events all over the world to raise money for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. It would not be good for the hometown event here, one of the many that you have, but one here that involves the university, that involves sports, to not flourish, to not impact as much as other events from outside of the city. So I'm asking folks to really think about that. I know it's a work night. I know it's a school night. But to come over and support, because it's a great event, what you're getting bang for your buck. But again, you can't say enough about the beneficiary.
Well, thank you for that. Look, Memphis has been stepping up for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital since 1962. Ever since they provided that initial tract of land over there off of Highway 51, which is now Danny Thomas Boulevard, the community has been such a tremendous supporter and enabler of the great work that's being done at St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. And, we like to pay that back however we can. And Memphis has been so good to us. We're really confident. We really are. We have seen the way that the city embraced the FedEx St. Jude Championship through the years. We have seen the way that the city has embraced the St. Jude Memphis Marathon. It is now, become one of the premier running events in the country, not just charity events, but one of the premier running events. That event raises, it's going to be north of $16 million this year for St. Jude. And we have every reason to believe that the community will come through again, and this event will flourish, and it will be successful, and we're going to be able to do even better things in the future.
That's obviously, you start talking about the numbers and all that, but obviously you guys, it takes a lot when you're talking about not having any bills for any of those families, for all those patients. I mean, it takes a lot of those events. It takes a lot of money on a daily basis for you guys to do the great things at St. Jude.
That's right, Eli. Look, we have thousands of events across the country that benefit St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. There's over 1 million volunteers out there. And let's be clear, our mission is not just to cure kids of cancer in the Mid-South or in Tennessee. Our founder, Danny Thomas, said no child should die in the dawn of life. And we take that admonishment from him very literally and very seriously. And so a big part of what we're doing right now, our current strategic plan, is a nearly $13 billion investment that will hopefully impact more of the 400,000 kids. Let's not say hopefully, it's going to, okay? Impact more of the 400,000 kids around the globe that get cancer every year. And that's our mission. It's not just a United States thing or a local thing. It is a global mission. And, we need that level of support to enable to continue that great work.
Chris Boyson is the Senior Vice President of ALSAC. He's joining us on the Sissy's Log Cabin guest line. The event, December 15th, to make that October 15th, the Hoops for St. Jude Tip-Off Classic. So it's next Tuesday, the doubleheader at FedEx Forum, the Memphis men versus North Carolina, the Memphis women versus South Carolina. Parthu Pajai is here as well. I know you spoke just recently with Chris about this event. And Chris, we talked to you last time about having this be an annual event, whether it be an exhibition or hopefully one day it's an early season tournament during the regular season, events like we have in Maui and in the Caribbean and all over the country. Will a lot of the future depend on how this first one goes?
Yeah, look, we're committed. We have said we're going to do kind of a 2-year run at this and engage it. But yeah, a lot of it is going to depend on how successful we are this year. And then, immediately following this event, we're going to start discussions with Penny and with President Hargrave over there at the University of Memphis to see what we can do next year. We would love to move it into the regular season. We would love to do potentially a multi-team event like the Maui Invitational or Battle for Atlantis, but at a minimum to do kind of what we're doing here next week. We want to do that again. Again, I mentioned the 400,000 kids that get cancer every year. I really need to speak to the need there so that people understand what we're doing. the survival rate in the United States is about 80% for childhood cancer, okay, overall. That's great, but 1 in 5 kids still don't make it. When you look at globally in low and middle income countries, that survival rate is just 20%. So it's basically 1962 all over again in many places around the world outside the United States. So I just wanted to kind of finish that point.
Yes.
Put a little bit more emphasis on the why behind what we're doing.
Well, one of the other things is great too about this is the players from these various teams can get an opportunity to come see St. Jude and kind of see and have that impact. And it's great for the patients, but I think also great for these players and people to see exactly what they're playing for.
That's exactly right, Eli. We had the Lady Tigers in last week, and one of the young ladies on the team had blown out her ACL the first day of practice. And I was watching her at the beginning of the visit, and she, it had just happened a couple of days before, and she was being pushed around in a wheelchair. And she was understandably upset, and you could see it in her face that, she's lost a year. She's a sophomore. And after the visit, I saw her again, and they had spent some time with the patients. And, I was just kind of watching her, and I looked at her afterwards. I walked up to her. I said, "Hey, what'd you think?" And she said, "This was about the best thing I could have done in terms of perspective for what I'm going through. That these kids are dealing with cancer. I'm going to heal. I'm going to heal quickly. I'm young. I'll be back next year." And what a gift this was for us to be able to see this. The Lady Tigers, like I said, were there. The men's team was here just a couple days ago. And then we've got North Carolina coming in on Monday to visit. And then South Carolina will be here on Tuesday for their team visit. And each team, the individual players, part of this whole thing is, we want to teach philanthropy from an early age. And so each of these players is going to be doing some individual fundraising for us over the next couple of weeks.
Nice.
That's part of it. And so we're excited to see that take flight as well.
Yeah, and think about the possibilities for the future of different programs, big name programs coming to town for an event that becomes an annual event. Parth, in your research and talking with Chris, what are we talking about as far as numbers so far? And what are the tickets? Do you know what the tickets are going for?
Yeah,
how much they are?
I think Chris tweeted it. And hey, Chris, hope you're doing well. Chris tweeted it last night, saying that the cheapest tickets were $25, but with the service fees and the online transaction fee or what have you, it turns out to be about $50.
Okay.
For the cheapest seat in the house.
And so far, how many seats have been sold?
Chris, that's 5,000, correct? Is that number still accurate from Monday?
That's right.
Around 5,000.
Wow, so a long way to go to fill that building.
Yeah, Greg, and I'm glad you mentioned that. Chris, to have this be a annual staple here in Memphis, to be a multi-team event, an MTE, if you will, we talked about it kind of off the radio, but just for the listeners, what is the goal there? What's the benchmark to have this return, not just next year, but year after year after year? Yeah, look, I've talked to our leadership, specifically Rick Shadyac, our CEO, who has really been a driver in this on this event, and we both set that benchmark around 10,000 tickets that we would love to see in the building. Look, we also are pretty clear about what the typical attendance is at a Tigers game. We know that, but I think also the hope here is that we're just going to get some hoops fans beyond what you typically would get with a Tiger crowd of 6,000 or 7,000, 8,000 people. And so I think we've got to have that level of support to be able to justify the work and the investment that would go into an event like this on a bigger scale in the future.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that go into play, right? The teams coming here, the travel, where they're staying, food, everything that goes into putting on a game, and in this case, games. There's a lot behind the scenes. It's going to be a fabulous event. It is obviously for a very, very worthy cause, folks. So, again, when you're thinking about what you want to do with your entertainment dollars, I'm not going to tell you what you have to do, but we would love to see you there next Tuesday, doubleheader at FedEx Forum. Chris, always a pleasure to have you on the program. Anytime, we're here for you. Thank you so much with all you do. Thank you, guys. Eli Pars. Greg, thank you so much, and
Thank you for helping us get the word out. We appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chris.
Somebody had texted to ask about the game being televised. The men's game is televised, right?
They are both going to be able to be streamed. The men's game's on ESPN2 and the women's game's on ESPN Plus.
Okay, yeah,
yes.
okay.
And look, and that's always an interesting topic of conversation. You want it available, and then the masses can watch. Right. But then again, if it's available, and this is a problem sometimes with football as well, if it's available, then maybe you don't want to go because you don't want to spend money or have to pay the concession stand
or drive
prices
downtown or whatever.
Drive down.
Yes.
So that's always.
Yes.
So I think that is a problem with today. It's good and it's bad at the same time. Back in the day when there were only a limited amount of games that were on television or were available to people, they would be more apt to go to the games.
East Coast Wings and Grill. Speaking of sports on television, when the sports are on, they've got them on at East Coast Wings and Grill. You can watch the games while enjoying great food, like any of their 60 different flavors of wings, or one of their great burgers, or other sandwiches, maybe one of their flatbreads, or a salad. All kinds of great items on the menu at East Coast Wings and Grill. Of course, the wings are the highlight. And again, 60 flavors to choose from, 7 different heat indexes available as well with the wings at East Coast Wings and Grill. Also, 24 draft beers on tap. Any other beers or drinks that you want, they've got you taken care of. And of course, again, all the action on today. Major League Baseball action starting this afternoon, 4 games. You can watch them all at East Coast. You can enjoy happy hour pricing in the middle there while watching baseball from 3:30 until 6 on 2-for-1 draft beers. That's a great way to watch the baseball action this afternoon. You can do it at East Coast Wings and Grill, located just off Highway 64, Kate Hyde Boulevard. That runs right between Lowe's and Walmart off Highway 64 in Bartlett. East Coast Wings and Grill.
All right, more with Parthu Pajai when we return. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Be sure to follow us at Sports 56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows. Stay up to date with station events and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports 56 WHBQ.
Visit Frontier Western Store today for new shirts and boots. Frontier is your top Carhartt store in the Mid-South. There's thousands of in-stock shirts and jeans. They have the classic K87 pocket tee in every color they make, including new ones just released. Available small to 4X. Want new jeans? Frontier has you covered with super tough work denim by Carhartt. And you've got to check out their selection of Ariat jeans for men, women, and children. You'll love how easy it is to find the size and style you need. Have you seen Frontier's remodeled world-famous boot showroom? It continues to expand. New styles by Ariat just arrived, plus plenty of in-stock proven classics too. Whether you need work or dress boots, trust that Frontier's the place to come. See thousands of pairs of Ariat boots and thousands more by Dan Post, Corral, Durango, Rocky, Twisted X, and others. And Frontier's pricing is lower than online and chain stores, so you know just the local shop to visit. Frontier Western Store, 5880 Goodman Road in Olive Branch, and on the web at frontierwesternstore.com. Locally owned and operated since 1967.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. In these uncertain economic times, there are so many things as a contractor and a business owner that I cannot control. The rising cost of materials, not to mention fuel and transportation costs. In the last 2 years, shingle prices have almost doubled, and commercial materials have doubled. And I don't have to tell you what fuel costs these days. But you know what I can control? How much markup I put on a project. I have always prided myself in knowing I never gouge a customer. But in an effort to ensure my crews have work and my customers are being treated fairly, I have lowered my profit margin, hoping to give you a price you can live with and keeping my crews busy. So if you need a roof or gutters, please give us a call. Five Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. Five Ash Roofing, a proud sponsor of Tiger Athletics and a member of the Tigers home team. 367-0050 or MemphisRoofer.com. 367-0050 or MemphisRoofer.com.
Hungry for that delicious smash burger flavor? Dyer's Cafe is the original smash burger since 1912 and still smashing burgers in Collierville's historic town square. Come out for their lunch specials Monday through Friday 11 to 2. Ask about their world-famous split dog and authentic Chicago or New York dog. Try the leaner side of Dyer's with a grilled chicken sandwich or freshly made salad. Also serving Lakes, Delta-raised catfish, Pasquale's tamales, and a customer favorite hand-breaded onion rings. Dyer's, serving world-famous burgers, dogs, and shakes in Collierville's historic town square.
Family Leisure is having the world's biggest spa set, and it's happening right now. You can save thousands on in-stock hot tubs that are ready to be delivered. Family Leisure has spas that start at just $28.99. You know those cold plunges? You can get one for yourself starting at $39.99. Or how about swim spas? They start at $17,499. Plus, Family Leisure has set up special financing just for this event. Have you been sitting on the fence about an above-ground pool? Get off that fence and get to Family Leisure to take advantage of huge discounts on all their in-stock above-ground pools. And if you need some patio furniture, it's all priced to move out now. It's not too late to have some summer fun, courtesy of Family Leisure. But you better hurry up. The world's biggest spa sale might go on forever. Family Leisure, with and run at I-40. Family and fun come together. Now back to Sports 56 mornings on Sports 56 and 95 FM. This hour brought to you by Jenkins Floors and More. And once again, Mark Gaston and Eli Sabor.
Parthen Pajai is with us from the Daily Memphian, the Tigers basketball beat writer, and he'll be with us each and every Wednesday at 9:25. But thank you for coming in early to talk with Chris, and you did that story about next week's game. In the meantime, the Tigers basketball team, we finally had a chance to go see them a couple of different occasions. I was there for Pro Day. What's your initial thoughts of what you've seen?
Yeah, I think they're very, very, very good on the top, like at the top of the rotation, but they're not as deep as a typical Penny team. He's got only 11 of the 13 scholarship slots filled. Penny did say he may add one more player, but it's, October 9th semester has started.
So that would be second semester maybe?
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. So I just think it's unlikely that he adds anybody to the roster at this point. So he's got 11 guys. One of those guys is a junior college transfer, so you're looking at 10 guys who could be part of that mix. And Baraka Okoji, obviously coming off that shoulder surgery, that shoulder injury, rehabbing well, but still somebody who's not at 100%. So the point kind of being there's not a lot of room for attrition, but the top of that roster is very, very, very talented, and the pieces seem to fit a lot better than they did last year, if that makes sense. They complement one another better than last year's team did.
Who kind of impressed you the most in the things they've had here recently?
Man, it's got to be Dane Danger, right? Greg, I know you were there at Pro Day, and I don't believe you were there for the blue and gray scrimmage.
I was not.
He flashed that same versatility that we saw at Pro Day, the ability to kind of dribble from the high post and pass and either create his own shot or create shots for others. I didn't know he had that in his bag. I knew he was a low post scorer, kind of a big body that can get rebounds and put the ball back up and in. But for him to have that creativity and that ball handle and that court vision, I was impressed, certainly.
Yeah, I expected a bigger, bulkier guy. He's slick. He's got great moves. Now,
he's 271. Did you see the Pro Day measurements? The dude's 6'9", 271 with a 7'5" wingspan. It's insane.
Doesn't look 271.
No, he does not. Does not move like he's 271.
Tyrese Hunter is probably the biggest name they have. He came from Texas. And he will be the point guard. He's got an amazing vertical. He's short. He's like 5'11".
5'11" and 3/4.
But he can leap out the building. My question, though, to you is, where do you think he falls in the point guard run that Penny's had since he's been here? Let's just compare him to last year. You had Quinterly come in from Alabama, big name, who had his moments and certainly had his issues as well.
Sure.
What do you expect from Hunter? Because they're going to go as far as Hunter takes them, in my opinion, because the point guard obviously is the quarterback out there.
Yeah, I think this is more of a return. It's hard to compare anybody to Kendrick Davis because he was such a one-on-one.
Sure.
One of one, right? Like a guy who came in for a year and really embraced the city, and the city embraced him, and he played his butt off every night. So it's hard to expect that out of anybody, but I think it's more of a reversion toward that, right? Whereas Quinterly was more, a bucket getter, Mr. Jelly Fam, has the moves, has the bag, if you will, flashy. Tyrese is somebody who's going to get up in your grill, right? And he's going to turn the ball over, and he's going to dive for the loose balls, and he's going to turn defense to offense. And I think that's what Penny wants, and you kind of have seen that in flashes here at Pro Day last Thursday and at the blue and gray scrimmage on Friday.
What about Haggerty? Like, where does he kind of fit in? And like, obviously he put up the huge numbers at Tulsa, a little different here because he's not there. He's kind of absolutely the guy.
Yeah.
So how do you kind of see him fitting in now with this group?
Yeah, we've asked Tyrese Hunter and PJ Haggerty because they're both used to having the ball in their hands, right? They're both used to being ball dominant. So how will that work? Is there a 1A, 1B? Is one guy going to play primarily off the ball? One guy's going to play primarily on the ball? And they've both kind of said that they'll take turns giving each other a break, right? Like initiating the offense. One possession you might see Tyrese Hunter calling out a play, running a play, bringing the ball up. One possession you might see PJ Haggerty. But I think PJ Haggerty, more than anything else, is going to be your primary bucket getter, right? Like your David Jones-esque, hey, we need a bucket. The offense has gone dry. Go get us one. Call ISO for PJ type of player. Whereas Tyrese Hunter, you'll see more of him take on an orchestrator role and kind of get everybody involved and get things to be cohesive and to get guys to be on one accord.
The third guy, and I call them three guards because they're very small as opposed to a small forward, and that would be Colby Rogers, who's probably their best shooter. Overall, do you think they are a good shooting team, a better shooting team than what we saw last year, or worse?
Yeah, I actually wrote about this. It hasn't published yet, but in a Tigers Talk column or roundtable that I do with John Martin over at the Daily Memphian, dailymemphian.com is where folks can read it. And we talked about kind of the on-court issues or on-court questions that we have with this team. And I mentioned two. One was the lack of depth compared to a traditional Penny Hardaway team where he has 13 guys, which has also been a problem. We've talked about having too many buttons to press in the control board.
That's not necessarily an issue.
Not ideal, not an issue this time. But then it's the lack of shooting, right? You've got two players. I went through the 11-man scholarship roster. They've only got two players who shot over 32% for their career from three-point range, and that's just two. Yes, and that's Colby Rogers at 39.2 through his 5 seasons, and that's PJ Carter at 39.1 through his 3 or 4 seasons, whatever he's played in college. Everybody else is a 32% or lower or worse three-point shooter. And that's Tyrese Hunter, that's Baraka Okogie, that's PJ Haggerty. Now, you've got young guys like PJ Haggerty who, you're talking about smaller sample sizes. You're talking about guys who can still improve and evolve their games in that regard. So you're kind of banking on that. You're banking on the fact that PJ Haggerty's going to get better. You're banking on the fact that Baraka Okogie's going to knock down more than 28% of his three-point looks. And those things could happen, but it's certainly not a guarantee that they will happen.
Do you think having the exhibition next week against a team like North Carolina, do you think it's good for them at this point to kind of have that type of a test this early with an early exhibition?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, if you look at just the calendar overall, you're combining the exhibitions with the early portion of the non-conference slate. I mean, by Thanksgiving, we're going to know what this team's made of. And, of course, we said that last year where they ran through that non-conference schedule, which happened to be a lot weaker than we thought it was at the time. But this schedule seems to be legit. It seems to be a schedule that even if even if Virginia doesn't pan out or Clemson doesn't pan out, well, you've got UConn, right? You've got these games don't count, but you've got North Carolina and Alabama. So you're going to know between North Carolina on Tuesday, Alabama, October 28th in Huntsville, UConn and Maui, Virginia on the road, Clemson on the road. You're going to know what this team is made of very, very, very quickly here.
Tell me if you agree with this statement. If Memphis is going to have success, win a bunch of games, they're going to do it more so with their defense than their offense.
I agree. I think it's weird, though, because the advanced analytics, if you look at Bartorvik or other sites, they show Memphis being slightly more offensively inclined.
Really?
Right. I was surprised, too. I think Bartorvik, last time I checked, they had Memphis as a top 25 projected offense, but defensively they had him at 30-something, which is a little bit strange. I'd lean more toward that being flipped, right? Like it being the inverse of that, them relying on defense and length and kind of getting in your grill and making you uncomfortable. And Penny said that multiple times. When you look at the personnel he has on the court, you look at even the pro day measurements with the guys' range and wingspan and that kind of thing and their speed, it looks like more of a Penny Hardaway team, which is once again a team that makes you really uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's what he wanted. He wanted to get back to his type of defense, which they did not have last year.
Who's the best defender on the team?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Haggerty's pretty good too.
It's got to be Tyrese Hunter, man. People forget he averaged nearly, I think, over 3 steals a game his first year at Iowa State. He was in running for Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. Musa Cisse won that year, which those two kind of joke about. But Tyrese was, one of the best defensive players in the best conference in basketball only 3 seasons ago.
Well, Cisse, who apparently will come off the bench, is known for his defense. He's certainly not known for his offense. So he brings that to the table.
Rim protection, certainly.
Chance to block shots and things of that nature. I think a guy that is being overlooked is the only returning contributor. Obviously, Noah Stansbury's back, but
sure.
Jourdain. And the talk was always Tyreek Smith is going to start. Maybe he will.
All offseason. That's what
But Nick Jourdain
we'd all heard that, yes.
looks to me like a leader out there, vocal, and I think he's gotten better as a player.
He looks comfortable, man.
He looks
happy.
really comfortable. So I think I think he's going to be very, very important for Penny. What about the? I don't know if you've written about it or not yet about the conference.
Sure,
it's not a good conference. Again, if Memphis plays,
it's a pretty awful conference.
If Memphis plays even solidly above average consistently, and not have the complete meltdown that they did last year, they should have no problem winning the conference, right? Who else is out there that is going to compete?
UAB. So UAB, and I did write about this when I broke down kind of where Memphis stands in the AAC landscape. So let's zoom out a little bit. There's 13 AAC teams. I want y'all to get, how many teams do you think are in the top 100 of Bar Torvik's 24-25 projections?
Including Memphis?
Including Memphis.
3.
Exactly, 3. That's Memphis at 32. That's UAB at 82. And North Texas at 87.
Wow.
The next team in that pecking order is Wichita State, which falls at 101, 102. So you only got 3 teams that are even considered to be top 100 teams, let alone NCAA tournament teams. Forget NCAA tournament. We're just talking about competence. We're talking about competent, high-quality basketball teams, and there's 2, maybe 3 of those. So that's where that list stops there. But then you talk about kind of who can actually challenge Memphis if Memphis was to slip up. I think that's UAB, right? It's a team that made the NCAA tournament last year, won the AAC tournament to get there. That was their second trip to the Big Dance in 3 seasons. Now they're bringing back 6 of their top 8 scorers. They're bringing back their 3 double-digit guys, including Yaxel Lendenborg, who was rumored to have interest, or Memphis have interest in him, rather, to become a Tiger. It didn't happen, obviously. So there's some intrigue there with what they can do to maybe push Memphis.
We look forward to having you on each and every week.
Absolutely. I'm excited, y'all.
Thank you so much,
Yes,
Bart.
sir.
Genesis Diamonds, Poplar and Perkins Extended for all your jewelry needs. Go see the folks at Genesis. They'll take good care of you. Great selection, great pricing, just great value. You know you're going to get great value with the pricing that they've got. They've got something for every budget as well. If you're looking for a gift idea or maybe for something for yourself, go see the folks at Genesis Diamonds, Poplar and Perkins Extended.
That will do it for us today. We appreciate you listening, folks. Thanks to our great guests, Dave Hooker, Jerry Palm, DeMichael Cole, Chris Boyson, and Parth Upadhyay. Tomorrow, loaded. Ken Wisenhunt, the new head coach of the Showboats, at 7:30. Coach Ryan Silverfield will be on with us at 8:05. We'll have the Tiger Football Report at 8:25 as we preview, and fingers crossed they play. But if they don't play, they don't play. There's more important things. Tigers in South Florida. And then 9 to 10, it's the AutoZone Liberty Bowl Inside College Football Hour with Harold Grader. We'll have our world-famous Pick 6 as well. Well-known friends on Sports 56 is coming up next. For Eli Savoy, for Elijah Seegers, I'm Greg Gaston. Have a great day, everybody.
They're taking care of business in Memphis right on the river with Grind City Brewing. And